What's going on? 6 o'clock in the morning from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. I'm Robert Walsh. 7 names on the Tennessee Titans list of candidates to replace Mike Vrabel. The Titans have requested virtual interviews with those 7 candidates per various media reports. Those 7 names: Bengals offensive coordinator Brian Callahan, Lions defensive coordinator Aaron Glenn, Lions offensive coordinator Ben Johnson, New York Giants offensive coordinator Mike Kafka, Ravens defensive coordinator Mike McDonald, Antonio Pierce, who is the interim coach for the Raiders, and the defensive coordinator for Dallas, Dan Quinn. 2 legendary coaches stepped down off their thrones yesterday. Let's start in Seattle. It's Pete Carroll exits as the most winningest coach in Seahawks history with a record of 137, 89, and 1 to go along with 10 playoff wins. Along with Jimmy Johnson and Barry Switzer, Pete Carroll is one of only 3 coaches to win both a national championship and a Super Bowl. Now to Tuscaloosa. After 17 seasons, Nick Saban's calling it quits. Saban, who was 72, just finished his 17th season at Alabama. It ended with a loss to the eventual national championship, Michigan, and the Rose Bowl. He won 201 games, tied with Vince Dooley for the second most wins at a single school in the SEC, behind only Bear Bryant. His final record at Alabama, 201 and 29. He had more first-rounders than he had losses. He had 44 first-rounders. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and the Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Thursday morning on RKW, and just a little bit to talk about today. In the city of Nashville, in the world of college football, who else is going to retire or leave their job today? The day is very young. A lot of possibilities out there. Maybe it can be you. 615-737-1045. As Nick Saban calls it quits, the Titans send out their first interview requests, and we talk with you for the next 4 hours. We're not retiring. We being Ramon Foster, Kayla Anderson, Robert Walsh, our producer. My name is Will Bowling. Streaming live on 104.5 The Zone TV, Facebook Live, YouTube, Twitter, or Twitch.
Push, please.
Good morning, everyone. How are we?
Good.
We're good.
I might quit today.
Still good. No, you're not quitting because there's
Hmm.
going to be more news that breaks today because news comes in threes, and we got Bill Belichick news today. I'm just going to predict that right now.
Oh, it could have been Pete Carroll as well. Two
Pete?
72-year-old coaches retired yesterday.
My goodness.
Okay, I might quit too. Okay, I might hang it up. What am I sure?
You're not 72 though yet. Let's just
I'm
make
not.
that clear to people.
I got shoes on with shoestrings, so if you see me taking my shoes off and throwing them over the wires up top, then I power lines up top,
You're
then
done.
I'm done. Okay, but if you also see me skipping down the street happy and just singing tunes of Rocky Top.
I wonder why.
I wonder, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's just what I'm on now. I don't know what the week's going to have for me, but if you see me skipping down the street just toodaloo, oh, Rocky Top, just don't worry about me, okay?
Well, if you see me and you trying to see what's up, there you go.
Oh, goodness.
That's just a ski eat before 6:05 in the morning.
You did it. I didn't do it. You're the one that said it.
That's just where I'm at today, okay? Don't ask me why I got on all this Tennessee stuff today. Don't ask me why I got it on today.
I have no idea. Why would that be, Ramon Foster?
I feel like everybody, as a conference, as a people, as an entity, representation of the SEC, we unite today. I got one thing today. Just enjoy this. And enjoy this, okay? Just if you see me skipping down the streets, just let me have it.
Oh.
Breaking sports news on 104.5 The Zone.
According to NFL Media's Ian Rappaport, the New England Patriots are moving on from head coach Bill Belichick, a 24-year tenure, including 6 Super Bowl wins, is officially over. Bill Belichick, you are an Alabama Crimson Tide. Kayla called it.
Wow.
Kayla just called.
Kayla, can you say that I'm going to get a raise?
Yeah.
You're getting a raise today.
What are the lottery numbers this morning?
Kayla just called that. Can we save this and then go back to that?
Wow.
Incredible.
What the hell?
And we don't get a break news on this show often.
Golly. And another one bites the dust.
Listen, I'm going to be honest with y'all. I am not adding that to my update. I already have to read through two people's extensive records. I'm not adding a third person's record to this. I already almost ran out of breath reading all that. I have to read all these names that Titans are adding for virtual interviews. I'm not changing my update.
You
Oh
just
my
called it,
goodness.
Kayla.
That is incredible.
That's insane.
Well, there we go.
Well, there's a bunch of people in the AFC side of football. They're probably skipping up and down the street.
Yep.
Although the last couple of years for them hadn't been that type of season. But goodness gracious, man. Out.
Well.
I thought he was kind of fooling us because he was going to say the Bama stuff.
Yeah.
Because we were playing into that. I really didn't think that was real at
I
first.
thought he was playing, so I thought you was about to say, Ramon said all the SEC teams unite. No, I know that those words have never come out of your mouth anyway, but, oh, man. That's some good stuff right there, y'all. That's some good stuff.
Incredible.
Well, either way, Javier, Pete, Nick.
Yep.
Breaking sports news on 104.5 The Zone.
We just got a big-ass news dump today, man. Home teams for the 4 international games
Oh,
in
yeah.
2024.
Us too.
Now. I really just wanted to hit the sounder again, to be honest with you
Good.
guys. In London, the Bears, the Vikings, anybody else? Who else is going to be in London?
Dallas.
Come on, Ramon.
The
Just like
Jags.
the test
The
you already
Jags.
made?
Jags.
The Jags.
Jags.
Thank you, Kayla. Kayla gets another gold star.
I'd say the Texans.
And in Germany, the Panthers.
The Carolina Panthers have been relegated to the Bundesliga. This just in to 104.5 The Zone. Relegation and promotion, ladies and gentlemen.
Bert, I really did act like the athlete in the class. Never mind what comes after 2.
Now, we went over this. I even gave you a
5?
note card with all the answers on it, Ramon. Who
Okay.
plays in London every single year? Dallas.
Oh, my gosh.
Try again. It's a cat.
What's 2 plus 2,
goodness.
Ramon? 7.
21.
21. Bert,
Wow.
I clearly wasn't thinking right there.
That was great.
It's still early, man. It's still early.
You're right. You hit me with the ski eat early. I missed that layup. And then, of course,
I think it's because you're so overshadowed by the Nick Saban news and overjoyed.
everybody knows now. I mean, I feel the same way about Saban as I do Bill Belichick.
Well, I think the difficult thing now is that if John Calipari also moves on, then Alabama fans are going to have a really tough offseason. Bill Belichick and Nick Saban, their Yankees did not fire their manager. It's a really tough time right now in Tuscaloosa. So be with our friends who have already lost Nick Saban yesterday, and now they're losing Bill Belichick this morning. That's a tough 24 hours
What can you?
in Tuscaloosa, Alabama.
New Year's resolutions are real, right? That's when people reset themselves.
A lot of bandwagon fans entering the transfer portal this
So
morning,
goes,
along with the 5 stars that were committed to Nick Saban in Alabama.
you got to dunk that one, Will. Kayla already passed it to us with the news.
I know. We're just passing it around the studio today.
Lay up, Kayla, with a dime. Nah, I took your dime. My bad. It was a
all
crazy
right.
pass right there with the
all right.
Belichick, and Will slam dunked that
Yep.
one. That was cool.
By the way, what a show put on by Bill Belichick earlier in the week saying, oh, yeah, I'm willing to change things. Went out there and talked with the media. Part of the show, folks.
Part of the show.
I
You're
think
right.
he was auditioning as much
Yep.
for his future employer as he was his current employer. And saying,
Golly. Man, I can't imagine the amount of weight uplifted, just from Tuscaloosa and from the New England era. Can you imagine the amount of stress taken off the wheels of the wagon that they've been on? Can you imagine?
So did Bill Belichick retire too because he was tired of dealing with the transfer portal?
Yeah,
It's just,
I'd say so.
couldn't live with the constant. Robert is so mad at me. It's 6:10 in the morning.
Yeah.
Look out.
What if we just did like did you guys watch Wife Swap when you were a kid?
Yeah, I did.
Dude, it was so.
Well, I've never heard of that.
You haven't?
So
No.
basically,
Wife swap.
two families would sign up and they
Oh.
would change wives. So they would change moms and they would have to come in and do all the other person's duties. I would love to see a 3-way coach swap and just send every one of these legendary coaches to a different scenario. So like Bill Belichick goes to Seattle. Nick Saban goes to the New England Patriots, and Pete Carroll goes to Alabama, or whichever one I didn't say.
Yeah. I'd watch it. 100% watch that. That's reality TV, right? That's
too.
better
Pete
than
Carroll
Hard
chewing
Knocks.
gum,
would
like,
too.
why are these kids leaving?
That's better than
We know
Hard
they're gone.
Knocks.
Well, eventually we'll give up on The Bachelor because no one stays together from The Bachelor.
No.
So
They don't?
But they all moved to Nashville.
they all break up. They all move here,
They all
break
moved to
up, and then they
Nashville.
like date people who were on the other seasons.
Yes.
And not the ones they actually met on the show.
So maybe that's the reality show we'll move
Yeah.
forward,
Bachelor
right?
in Paradise, man. I
Honestly.
don't know if y'all are into that, but that's the best crappy television
It
there
is.
Mm-hmm.
It really is.
We never got an update from Bert and Kayla on the Golden Years ones.
Which
Oh, yeah,
one?
they got
y'all-
married last week.
I
Oh,
fell
they
off.
got married. Yeah.
I fell off so hard.
And then another
I didn't-
couple got engaged like at
Yeah.
their wedding.
Oh, wait. You
Another-
can't do that.
Oh, and they did it for they was on
tell
TV.
me, tell me they knocked their dentures out when they did
Well,
it.
he was young. The guy that proposed
Oh,
to
he
this
was-
other girl.
Oh, he
he
got
was on.
sugar mama.
He was in
Their
Bachelor in
dentures.
Paradise.
Did he?
He actually had
One of
long
these
hair
days
like
you're going to
Bert.
grow up.
Was he trying to secure the bag? Is what I'm asking.
Probably.
Also, probably. Did somebody, like I said, knock his dentures out?
I
for
hate that I
proposal?
know these things. but I
She's
do.
making him move here, though.
Get the hell out of
Yeah.
here!
He said,
Where
I'm
does she
moving
get
to
off
Nashville.
at?
Oh my gosh!
Unbelievable.
I know. It sounds
Keep
like-
him coming.
The unmitigated gall.
It is incredible that of all the days that we haven't broken news, today there was news to break at 6 in the morning.
Mhm.
That did happen last year with the London game when the Titans were announced they were going to London. For whatever reason, the NFL does the international announcement at 7 a.m. Central.
That's crazy.
Anyway, a bone thrown for the little guy. Really appreciate that.
We definitely
Roger.
appreciate that. Man.
We got to win.
We gotta
615-737-1045. Coming up this morning, Coach Dave McGinnis at 7:20. Our head coach of Titans Radio makes us smarter about the Titans coaching search. And who does Coach Mack know? Rhetorical question. Everybody. So we're going to ask him about some of the candidates that we are planning to discuss with you. Each of us have a top 3 to give you in terms of head coaching candidates for the Titans at 8:20. We'll go through that in hour number 3 this morning. The Thursday 3 at 9 o'clock. And Bryant McFadden of CBS Sports at 9:20. But coming up next, the headlines from yesterday. Nick Saban retires. Ramon has been dancing in the streets ever since. And the Titans have reportedly reached out to 7 head coaching candidates. We'll tell you who each of them are. English is hard on 104.5 The Zone. RKW is brewed by 8th and Roast on 104.5 The Zone. And if you missed it this morning, the breaking news. Bill Belichick is not expected to return as coach of the New England Patriots after 24 seasons with the franchise. Gone with the wind and ain't never coming back again. I wanted Ding Dong the Witch is Dead this morning, but this was the next best option. Ramon Foster, Kayla Anderson, Will Bowling with you on the phone line, 615-737-1045. The news and the stories will come out throughout the morning about Bill Belichick and what has gone down with Robert Kraft and the powers that be in New England. There is a tweet from Diana Rossini that reads, "The conversations between Robert Kraft and Bill Belichick were all kept very professional and also very quiet after 24 years together, per sources. While it wasn't the perfect ending, they decided it was best to go in different directions."
That's solid right there.
Okay.
It might have been 1 or 2 years past what it was also at that point after they got Mac Jones, and of course seeing what it looked like post him. I think we probably knew it was what it was when it comes down to how the Patriots' legacy was going to continue.
So additional reporting here. Bill Belichick, this is ESPN.com's Adam Schefter and Mike Reese writing quite a bit on ESPN.com this morning, starting by saying Belichick, who had 1 year remaining on his contract, will be allowed to leave the team without the Patriots seeking compensation, which again lines up with what Amy Adams-Strunk of the Tennessee Titans have done with Mike Vrabel as well. Goes on to write, he will want to continue coaching and is expected to draw interest from at least some of the other 7 NFL teams that have had coaching vacancies. The one they name, we'd like to guess which team is named as the possibility for Bill Belichick.
Washington?
Washington.
Robert?
The Chargers.
The Atlanta Falcons.
Oh,
Atlanta Falcons.
That's one of those
I
that
don't like that.
I don't think it's a fit because I couldn't envision him in Falcons colors. I could see Bill Belichick wearing Commanders colors. I just, for whatever reason, it's hard for me to get the image in my head of Bill Belichick wearing Falcon stuff. Maybe it's just because the 28-3 stuff.
Bill Belichick is 71 years old.
That's right.
And I can't see that because if you're the Falcons, again, and I like Arthur Blank as an owner, but they've gone through some coaches and they have not been able to establish a culture, establish like consistency in terms of wins. And if they're going to hire their next head coach, and I'm not saying they have to be some 30-year-old offensive coordinator, but they need to get someone that they feel like is going to be there for the long run, not 15 years, but to start to build that program up or that organization up. And I just don't think Bill Belichick is that guy at 71 years old.
So Belichick's exit is tied to Nick Saban's. It's interesting. They write, Saban succeeded Pete Carroll as the Ohio State secondary coach in 1980. And Belichick, of course, well-documented, worked with Saban in Cleveland from 1991 to 1994. And then Belichick, this story just refreshed as I'm reading this. Where did it go? Belichick replaced Pete Carroll as the Patriots head coach in 2000. Before all three just vacated their long-standing jobs in a 24-hour period.
Man.
The guy listed as the favorite for the New England Patriots coaching job.
Gerard Mayo.
Correct.
Gerard Mayo. Yep.
Not Mike Vrabel. Surprised?
Yep.
No, I'm not. I'm not on that one. The conversation's been Mayo for the last few years anyhow. And I will be interested to see if they follow through with it, considering the circumstances now, considering the big conversation around Mike Vrabel and him going back there and stuff like that. That's going to be very fascinating. But I've heard for a while that Mayo is supposed to be the guy, and there's been open reports about it too.
Well, the Patriots have done a good job of painting a picture to make them look as good as possible. And I wouldn't be surprised if this is continuing to paint the picture of, it's not just Mike Vrabel. And right now, Gerard Mayo is still the favorite. And he should be highly considered.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I'll believe it when I see it from the Patriots camp.
I think Mayo's probably the guy.
Yeah.
Honestly.
It's going to be fascinating to see how that all breaks down and shake out, man, because those are big shoes to fill regardless. I was talking to Kayla and Bert about that while Will was, I think, going to get coffee or to the restroom or something on the break. It's the legacy, replacing the legacy conversation. is always the hardest thing to do in sports, especially when the name is what you recognize it the most, especially on the culture side of it too, the culture side of it at times. On a brand like that, you got to deal with the big brand of the expectation, and then you got to deal with what those coaches have set up as the culture inside the building. It's very fascinating.
If Mike Vrabel doesn't go to New England, what is the best fit for him?
I think Atlanta.
Really?
I kind of think Atlanta. I don't know, because it's not too far, from maybe. I mean, think about it. He's got a family too, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't feel like he's going to move across the country. I don't see him as much as I'd like him to go to my Seahawks. I don't see him as like a guy who's going to go up to Seattle or even to LA. I feel like he wants to stay around these parts, and that's why I feel like Atlanta would probably be the next best gig, or Washington. I'm not going to put them out of it. But we haven't even heard from Mike Vrabel, you guys. We haven't heard a peep.
Yeah, well, he can't start interviewing for 3 days. When is his open date? The Friday? He was let go Tuesday.
Yeah.
I don't know.
If that's the case, from what the coaching hiring situations and stuff like that, a fire coach, I think it's 3 days of set up meetings afterwards. I can see Vrabel honestly going to a place like Carolina, where they need a bunch of discipline. There's a reset going on. Defense has got to be at the forefront of what they do and get somebody in that can handle working with your rookie quarterback.
With that owner, though, Dave Tepper?
Well, that's why I think a personnel like Vrabel may actually work in what he's looking for.
Fair.
You look at the last few guys that he's has, ain't going to call them dudes pushovers or nothing like that, but he needs somebody to say, hey, leave me the heck alone and let me do my job. I think that's probably what he needs. Tepper doesn't look like he has the patience to deal with certain people, and I think Vrabel might be the type of guy for a job like
Good
that.
point.
The window for Vrabel interviewing would have already opened. So teams may not interview employees of other teams that didn't make the postseason until the third day after the employer team's Week 18 game. So I believe he would be available now.
He's available now.
Okay.
And plus, he's not currently employed by an NFL team. I was thinking Seattle or LA for Vrabel, because I think those are the two best openings.
They are. I just don't know. I mean, and he'll go anywhere, I guess, if the money's right. He's a Ohio guy. He likes this part of the country. Like, I don't know.
If this counts as the same part of the country as Ohio.
No, but it's not far from it. I just he might want to reset. Maybe that's what he wants. Maybe he
Going to
wants
the
the
West Coast?
sunshine in LA or the rain in Seattle.
I think that would be one thing if you were recruiting to that area, but I don't think that makes a difference, at least not for me in NFL, unless you're a player that has to have warm weather like Ramon's talked about in the past.
Yeah. Top tier in F&M Bank Chat said, who wants the Panthers job? Everybody. They got nothing. I mean, you're gonna get a bag, you're gonna get time, or you should get time. Before you gotta get your first round draft picks back from that fire sale that they had last year, you at least get time. You got your quarterback, you got one of the best rushers, and you got an owner that's gonna pay out the wazoo for whatever he wants at this point. It's unstable as hell, but you take it if you know you got more security there.
Well, they got a lot of money.
Yeah.
I mean, David Tepper is as expensive of as rich of an owner. Robert could speak to this better than I could, but David Tepper, for all of the headaches that he causes, has a lot of money.
And it shows.
A lot of money.
The Panthers are like the pretty girl with acne around prom time. It's like, just wait a couple months. Wait a couple years. They're going to get their picks back. She's not going to have acne anymore. She's going to look good. Wait till she clears up a little bit. I wouldn't take this job for nothing.
You wouldn't take the Panthers job?
Prom's coming up, kids.
No, I'm telling you, prom's coming up, man. Just let her get her picks back. Let her get her
January
picks
11th.
back.
Prom's coming.
She's going to dump with whoever she's with. She can't keep a man. You know what I mean?
Oh, my gosh.
Can't keep them, man.
All right. This is one of the greatest parts about sports, is sitting around a room and there's an open job saying, so who do you think? And just throwing out names. Like, oh, that could work. Like, oh, that's not going to work. Oh, that'd be fun. That's not a good fit.
That's what we're doing.
So let's do that with Alabama. Pete Thamel tweeted yesterday, buyouts for potential Alabama head coach candidates. Let's go through these. It's funny. This tweet was originally sent with 3 names on it. And then Pete Thamel originally edited the post because James Franklin's agent apparently works very hard, because James Franklin was thrown onto this. And I can promise you, I don't think James Franklin is a candidate for Alabama. But anyway, Dan Lanning, $20 million. Kalen DeBoer, $12 million. Dabo Sweeney, $7.5 million. I'm just going to skip James Franklin because that was just that was a shameless move by his agent. Watch James Franklin be coach in Alabama now. Mike Norvell, $4 million. Who is the name that makes the most sense for Alabama?
Dan Lanning, probably.
I agree.
Mm-hmm.
Dan Lanning.
I agree. Georgia guy.
And that's a lightweight type of
Saban
buyout.
assistant.
Yeah.
Yep.
Dan
That's,
Lanning.
that's lightweight when it comes to a buyout for Alabama.
I also saw a report last night, you guys. I thought it was fascinating that he worked down to the very last minute before retiring and was actually interviewing candidates
Nick,
yesterday. Yeah.
Was he?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, they say they had like a 4:00 presser or something like that yesterday, too. Did an interview and everything. Hats off to him. I just saw a video on social media of a police escort of him leaving the arena. Like, I'm going to joke and I'm going to laugh. I mean, the football building. I'm going to joke and I'm going to laugh and I'm going to rejoice at it as a football fan. But as far as a sports fan, somebody that can respect somebody's work, I respect the heck out of what he did. You're not that good by accident. You're not that good by accident. And Bama has ridden the high horse for a very long time for a historic school, too. You can't deny that. One thing I will do is give flowers where they're due. Nick Saban deserves his flowers. Because I saw this said yesterday, it's a bunch of people on the X app, Twitter app, that forget how bad Alabama was. That's why Tennessee fans, at least me, mock them for being bandwagon people and just watching them just cream on social media now and just shrink on social media because they don't understand what this is about. Any legacy coach, most times, when you follow up that guy, it ain't because of the school. In college, that is. It's not because of the school. It's because of the guy. A guy like Nick Saban is who made Alabama what they were. The resources have been there. The same way it was at LSU for a guy like him. The same way you look at Texas and say Mac Brown had a machine there. And, of course, he had Vince too. But then look how long it took for them to get it together. It's not to say that this is the course for Alabama, but you'd be foolish to think that of those names, even including Dan Lanning, that, okay, it's going to be the same.
Right.
It's not.
It's a legend that you're replacing. I don't care what anybody says. He's the greatest football coach in college football history, in my eyes, because I've seen the era, right? And for other people that are older, maybe it's something different. But it's always so hard to match what the one did before you. That's why I think it's so important for whoever they hire, which I think they'll get a good hire. I think it's important to build their own brand, their own identity. Like that, they have to go in with that mindset. The only crappy part is it's going to take a minute to do it the right way. And it's a transfer portal nowadays, and the way that kids hop out of that thing, you're going to lose guys. And they've already started to lose some of those 5-star players at Alabama.
Yeah, Ryan Williams, the wide receiver they lost already last night, decommitted. I think it's interesting the window for their transfer portal business opens now. So they still have 30 days, or I guess a little less than 30 days, to do all of the things they're going to do and have an exodus or incoming and all of these things. They are a little bit behind the 8 ball, though, because the coaching carousel in college football is off and running and almost over, really, in a lot of ways. It's crazy. Just the legacy of what he was able to do there. We joke, and I got all my tweets off yesterday and had a good time with it. But legitimately, Nick Saban has changed a generation of college football just simply in the aspect that he's given us an elite group of coaches who learned under his leadership. That alone, when you take away his legacy and the national championships and the 292 wins, which is 6th all time in FBS, he legitimately crafted an entire generation of college football coaches. And we used to make the jokes about Saban assistants, and there are plenty of them that are legit, right? For every Kirby Smart, there's a Derek Dooley. For every Billy Napier, there is, on the other end, a Dan Lanning, right? There are success stories and there are failure stories. And while there are more failures than successes when it comes to Saban assistants taking over as head coaches, the sport now will forever be shaped by what Nick Saban did to bring it where it is now. And Chris Lowe reported yesterday of ESPN.com that he had grown increasingly frustrated with what college football had turned into, and said he's all about building a team and developing players, and now the only thing that seems to matter is who can get what in the NIL and who can get the biggest deal. Guys, I am of the opinion that Nick Saban went out with his best coaching job.
Yep.
You look at that roster that Alabama had this year and the lack of NFL talent at the skill positions and the ability that he had to still overcome Georgia, to still overcome a lot of challenges within his schedule. Couldn't overcome Texas, Michigan. But I think ultimately this was as good of a coaching job as Nick Saban had in his career at Alabama because he had to go outside of what he believed in the most in order to get that team to buy in and go from a ugly win over South Florida and Alex Golish to winning the SEC championship. That will get lost in all of his accolades and all of his successes at Alabama, but I genuinely believe he went out on top, and I think that's the only way that he was ever going to leave.
Yeah.
It is, and you got to give credit to where all of that stands. Will, to your point right there. But again, here's the thing too: in the last couple of years, his recruiting never fell off. Again, we spoke about it last year too, with the stuff that in this age of trying to compete, and everybody's chomping at him. Tennessee beating them last year, and then of course Texas beating them earlier this year, and what you have like. He never lost the standard of what his style of ball is, how he recruits. The idea that you get on campus first and get your NIL deal. You're going to get it if you do your thing. And every player that he's coached has kind of said the same things as far as when you get on campus with him. You got to admire. You don't get lucky with this type of stuff. I saw somebody in the F&M Bank chat said people were scared to bet against Alabama because of Nick Saban. Because you knew what it was. Never count Nick out. You know, those were the things that he – you know, that's how he coached. That's how he ruled. And again, you can call him what you want to, but you definitely got to call him great too. Again, I can hate as much as I want Alabama, but I respect the heck out of what Nick Saban has done in the coaching world in today's era of athletes, Kayla. That's a hard task to do when you're doing it his way.
I also think he's a guy that never had like a long-standing set of coordinators because he developed so many people like we were talking about earlier and that went on to be head coaches and guys that just came through and even, you know, got a rebirth at coaching. And I think that was impressive too with all the amount of offensive coordinators, defensive coordinators, staff members he went through. He was able to still maintain winning football there. And really buying in, whoever came, buying into what Nick Saban was doing. And also, let's not forget what made his career last even more, guys, when he decided, you know what, offense is something I have to change to. That was a huge part of his career that made it last even longer, is when he adapted to that.
Interesting. Stephen Godfrey, a very plugged-in college football reporter and podcaster. Split Zone Duo is a great resource if you are a college football fan. In splitzoneduo.com. Says on his podcast this morning, there were 4 schools in the playoff. Come the end of January, 3 of them might need new head coaches.
3 of them. Goodness.
I think, obviously, Jim Harbaugh to the NFL is expected. Nick Saban out. So I think he is noting, and I think it's fair, that both Steve Sarkisian and Kalen DeBoer will be in the mix for Alabama. I think the short list for Alabama, I think the reaches are Steve Sarkisian and Lane Kiffin. I think Kiffin is less of a reach, but I think Kiffin is so much of a wild card now that you never know.
But as far as Sark goes, Sarkisian, like, you got a monster, and you come to the SEC.
That's why it's a reach.
Okay. Oh, you said it's a reach.
Yeah,
okay.
The reaches.
The reaches.
Are
okay.
Steve Sarkisian and Lane Kiffin. The floor is Kalen DeBoer. And I think the expectation for me is Dan Lanning.
Dan Lanning.
I really do. I think it's Dan Lanning or Lane Kiffin, if I had to be honest. But
I'd like Dan Lanning. Or I wouldn't like, but I think that would be the best fit.
Aren't they all in better situations?
No.
No, as far as their conferences, the money they're getting paid,
I
the
don't think
athletes
so.
and resources?
No,
I'm pushing back on you on that.
Kalen DeBoer, Washington, now just entered the bottom of a totem pole.
Well, his situation, but he ain't Nick going to Alabama.
Nobody is. Unless you get Bill Belichick.
We got time to go on this one. Yeah.
615-737-1045. More on that. More on the candidates who the Titans have reached out to next. Bill Belichick retiring, Pete Carroll retiring, and Nick Saban out all within 24 hours. It's RKW brewed by 8th and Roast on 104.5 The Zone. Titans sending out interview requests as well. Coach Mack joining us in 30 minutes with lots of coaches to talk about. Again, Coach Mack knows every person that's ever put on a headset, so he will have great insight on all of those retirements and where the Titans go next as well.
Yeah.
615-737-1045. Let's quickly go through the list of Titans interview requests. 7 head coaching candidates. Cincinnati Bengals OC Brian Callahan. Lions defensive coordinator Aaron Glenn. Lions offensive coordinator Ben Johnson. Giants offensive coordinator Mike Kafka. Ravens defensive coordinator Mike McDonald. Raiders interim coach Antonio Pierce. Intriguing. And Dallas Cowboys defensive coordinator Dan Quinn. A reminder, NFL teams are not allowed to interview candidates in person until the divisional round of the playoffs are completed. So all interviews between now and January 22nd must be conducted virtually.
As Miss Amy and Rand said yesterday, they're just casting a wide net because they've hit almost every avenue right here with this one. Defensive coordinators, offensive coordinators.
Correct. Interim coaches.
Interim coaches at this point. Retread guys, also young, old, all this. I know a lot of people are probably excited about one particular on this list, and that's Ben Johnson.
That's right. Let's go to the phones. Tony in McMinnville is up first. 615-737-1045. Hey, Tony.
Hey, good morning, guys.
Morning.
As far as the Titans coach search, Antonio Pierce, I'd like to see what he could do. As far as everybody over the age of 70 retiring out of football, to touch on what you said earlier, Ramon, not only just Alabama, this is a question you all can put out. Where would the SEC be right now with all the clout that we have and all the rankings that we've enjoyed over the years? Where would we be without Nick Saban?
Thank you, Tony.
I can respect that.
Absolutely.
I can respect it. Again, I can hate Bama all I want to him and how he's 16-1 against us, but he's 100% correct. That machine that he built down there, that's the reason whenever he said stuff changed. That's the reason when he played you, you feared it, you wanted to go see it. He's right about the conference, the entire conference. Others have done great stuff, but nobody in today's football has done this in the SEC. Yeah, I agree with you on that one, Tony. Great friggin' point.
He also, I think, changed the standard of college football. And I know every coach doesn't do it the same as Nick Saban does it, but he stayed there for 17 seasons and showed, like maybe we'll see with Kirby, that you can continue to win those championships. You can continue to reload. Mm-hmm. And there are other coaches that didn't fear him, but for a period of time, people didn't want to play Alabama. No. And it was almost like Tiger Woods when he was in his prime, right? And so I think you got to respect what he's done for the game and just how he's been able to churn out these NFL guys and make men better men.
Yeah. He hit every avenue of it. You're right.
John in Murfreesboro next. 615-737-1045. Hey, John.
Hey, guys. How's it going?
Good morning.
Morning. I was calling in just in regards to the Alabama coach. I had an interesting experience a few months ago. I work with a guy that's, it's a friend of a friend that works for the University of Alabama, and I don't know how true any of this is, but I thought it was funny because this friend of mine that works at the University of Alabama saying Nick Saban's probably going to retire this year. We've already, touched base with Dan Lanning and basically told him, hey, like, if this happens, be ready to pack your bags and come on down to Alabama. And I was like, man, that's so far-fetched. Like, that's never going to happen. Nick. and
Sorry, John. We gave you some theme music there, right, with the X-Files. I love it though.
Just thought I got sucked into another.
I did too. I was about to have.
Other.
So you knew this how far back?
Okay.
It was mid college football season when I found this out, and I was like, man, that's never going to happen, right?
I may or may not be placing a sizable wager on Dan Lanning to go to Alabama now.
For real?
No.
I would.
Thank you, John. This is good info.
I mean, again, this is one of those things people always talk when it comes down to stuff like this.
Yeah, it's interesting. I honestly, he is the betting favorite in Vegas. Thank you for the call, John. Interesting.
Crazy
Interesting.
things.
615-737-1045. We'll get back to your calls. We'll start with Frank on the other side. We'll get to all of the news there is to get to. Nick Saban out, Bill Belichick out. If you would like to also announce your retirement this morning, 615-737-1045.
What's going on? 7 o'clock. Good morning from the 104.5 The Zone studios. I'm Robert Walsh. 7 names on the Tennessee Titans list of candidates to replace Mike Vrabel. They have requested virtual interviews with these candidates. Of the names that are of note, Ben Johnson, Lions offensive coordinator, Cincinnati Bengals offensive coordinator, Brian Callahan, and Raiders interim head coach Antonio Pierce. Now, 3 legendary coaches have stepped down from their thrones starting early this morning. But let's start in Seattle. Pete Carroll exits as the most winning coach in Seahawks history with a record of 137, 89, and 1 to go along with 10 playoff victories. Along with Jimmy Johnson and Barry Switzer, Carroll's only one of 3 coaches to win both a national championship and a Super Bowl. And now in Tuscaloosa, after 17 seasons, Nick Saban is calling it quits. His final record at Alabama, 201-29. He had more first-rounders, 44, than he did losses. And now in New England, Bill Belichick on the outs with the Patriots. His legacy in New England, 24 seasons, 9 Super Bowl appearances, 6 Super Bowl titles, 266-120 as a regular season record, and he was 30-12 in the postseason. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and the Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Hour number 2 on a Thursday morning edition of RKW. We are brewed up by 8th and Roast, and we are live on your radio dial for 3 more hours on your tablet on the 104.5 The Zone app, 104.5 The Zone TV, streams live every day, 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. on Facebook Live, YouTube, Twitter, or
Twitch, please.
Twitch. 615-737-1045. Ramon Foster, Kayla Anderson, Robert Walsh, our producer. I'm Will Bowling. There is new reporting about the timeline leading up to Mike Vrabel's exit as the head coach of the Tennessee Titans. This comes from The Athletic's Diana Rossini and Joe Rexrode, and it is lengthy. Shall we?
Yep.
Yes, we should.
Let's dive in. You can read this on theathletic.com. I highly recommend the price of that subscription.
Yes.
Whatever it is now.
$1.
Pay it.
A month.
Sure. Go for it. All right. Diana Rossini, the authority on all things Titans nationally, and for good reason. She has earned that. She is now at The Athletic, formerly of ESPN.com. Multiple team and league sources tell them. Bear with me here. The Titans wanted to make this season about evolving and modernizing their process behind the scenes. I'm going to give you cliff notes here. This is like Schmoop or Spark Notes. The Titans ownership embraced Rand Carthon's vision, informed by his time with the 49ers, one of the best-run organizations in the NFL. I'm not just going to read this word for word because, again, you should buy a subscription to The Athletic. But I will give you the highlights. During the hiring process to replace John Robinson, who was fired by Amy Adams-Strunk, Mike Vrabel made 2 comments to Amy that created friction between them. 3 team or league sources tell The Athletic. Vrabel wanted full control over the roster, saying that he'd earned it, and Strunk pointedly disagreed, carrying a belief over the years that head coaches should not have full control of rosters. Make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
When Rand Carthon was close to getting the job, according to The Athletic, Mike Vrabel told Amy Adams-Strunk he liked Rand Carthon, but didn't feel he was ready to become an NFL general manager. Interesting. Mike Vrabel's suggestion, the Titans hire Rand Carthon as the assistant general manager, a promotion from his position as number 3 in the 49ers pecking order. Strunk did not take kindly to that. Team sources believe her and Vrabel's relationship took a hit as a result of that discussion. Then there are details about Mike Vrabel and in the Titans bye week going to Foxborough as a guest owner of Robert Kraft. His speech to Patriots fans along the lines of, the Patriots have won 6 Super Bowls, and you should be thankful for what you have here. I'm paraphrasing, but he says, I don't want you to take this organization for granted. I've been a lot of places. This is a special place with great leadership, great fans, great direction, and great coaching. Enjoy it. It's not like this everywhere. That raised some eyebrows. Was reportedly never discussed between Amy Adams-Strunk and Mike Vrabel, but is something that was particularly interesting. According to high-level Titan sources to The Athletic, Amy Adams-Strunk left the Week 14 game in Miami early, believing the Titans were going to lose after falling behind 27-13 with 4:34 left. Strunk was thrilled the Titans pulled it off, but the loss to Houston is where she was visibly angry. Anyone who knows Amy Adams-Strunk or knows the Titans, the history with Houston, is not surprised by that whatsoever. At that point, The Athletic's NFL sources, team sources, believe Amy Adams-Strunk made up her mind, and at 11 a.m. Central on Tuesday, Mike Vrabel joined Amy Adams-Strunk and team president Burke Nihill for a meeting that lasted 2 minutes, according to The Athletic. So there you go.
Yep.
Vrabel is expected to be a hot commodity for other NFL openings. The last line of the piece reads, including in Las Vegas, Los Angeles, Washington, and New England.
So when it comes down to it, this was Mike Vrabel and Amy Adams-Strunk in a nasty kind of divorce that looked like it was coming. The train was rolling through the season, and in the end, it was not enough to hold it together.
And of course, we'll all say that he deserves that. And Vrabel told Amy Adams-Strunk that he deserved it too. He deserved that type of control over roster and just management of it and everything also. And she pushed back. You can't hardly tell people that own something that you know it better than they do. And maybe Vrabel does. Who knows? Wherever he decides to go, Will, if it's Vegas, Los Angeles, Washington, or New England, he'll get that type of control, Kayla. So it's going to be fascinating to see what comes of this and what's the rest of the Titans going to be moving forward, too. Because, again, I say this, I think Vrabel reminds this fan base a lot of themselves and how they see and how they will operate and stuff like this. And there are rules to how you got to operate as a coach and a business, too. Because if you become more powerful than me, then what am I to this? And she comes from a family that runs this business. That's hard. As much as you want to love Vrabel, you can't be mad at Miss Amy Adams-Strunk for suggesting that, no, I know what's best for my organization than you do.
She's the owner. This is the way she wants her team to be run. Robert Kraft is a different type of owner. He let Bill Belichick have those duties in terms of general manager things, and maybe that's why Mike Vrabel ends up going there. I don't know, but this is clearly not what Amy saw as a vision for how this team was going to be run and ran. But now you look at it and say, okay, you get some things now, right? You're like, okay, this is why this happened. And maybe this is why there was some confusion and lack of communication with this offense this year and what it really was. Like, there's things now you can go back to and say, okay, that makes more sense.
Knowing this, I would expect whoever the head coach of the Tennessee Titans to be next is going to be the head coach and Rand Carthon to be the general manager.
Yep.
I think that is the vision that Amy Adams-Strunk has for the organization. And I think it's fair to connect the dots here and understand that the vision that they will not tell us in Rand Carthon's press conference is that GMs are going to do GM jobs and head coaches are going to do head coaching jobs. And which loss? I think it was after the Colts loss at home where we made the point. I think I made the point. I'm not willing to fire Mike Vrabel, the coach, but I am willing to fire Mike Vrabel, the general manager. Turns out they may have been a package deal. And Buck Rising said that yesterday at 10:20. If you missed the conversation he and Lucas at the beginning of their show, that the way Buck understands it is that Mike Vrabel wanted full roster control. Amy Adams-Strunk was unwilling to give him that. And that was that. That was the basis of this marriage coming to an end. And The Athletic and Diana Rossini and Joe Rexrode are confirming what Buck said yesterday. And I think confirming what we now know to be true about this situation, that the Titans were going to be unable to fire Mike Vrabel, the GM, without firing Mike Vrabel, the head coach. And that changes my view of the entire move, guys, to be quite honest with you.
That's what's so fascinating right there is, to me, has he earned that? Vrabel, has he earned roster control?
So, and that's the thing. I don't know, Will, in terms of the roster control. Ramon Foster can step out for just a second. I look at this team and the direction it was going, and I know they didn't have the money. I know there were certain things that handicapped them from being able to build this roster up right. So there's still like what ifs, like what could have happened this year, right? But I'm sorry, whatever you put out the last 2 seasons, it's under you, right? And now especially that you're looking at it, it's like that was the roster that you had, and it didn't get it done. And Miss Amy didn't like the record, and she didn't like the way that this franchise was trending in.
Yeah, that's a tough ask right there, to have that type of control with no championships behind you, too. And also the way this roster has looked over the last 2-3 years, if that's any indication of the players that he's bringing in. Like, I think you can't deny he hit on Danico, okay? Aziz was solid this year, too. If it looked like he had roster control when it comes down to that type of stuff. But when you look at just the breakdown of players, how guys are when it comes to the play that you're getting day in and day out, week in and week out, you can't say if he wanted roster control unless he never did to this point that this was a championship-style roster, right?
It's interesting. I mean, Mike Vrabel did not earn the benefit of the doubt when it came to evaluating talent, and
Right.
his favorite players were often the ones that the Titans were having the biggest issues with.
And some some did work out, right? There were some guys that were brought in when the injuries were hitting this team, and some of them did work out. But Andre Dillard was his guy, and that did not work out.
Andre Dillard was...
It was a Vrabel guy.
It looks that way now.
It absolutely was. I mean, Andre Dillard told me the first day he was in the building, like there was something when I came here in 2019 for the, before the draft process, I visited Tennessee first, and Mike Vrabel and I hit it off. Like, that's a thing. Like, Mike Vrabel believed he could be their guy at left tackle.
This is going to be, and there's more I'm sure that's going to come out from Vrabel, but again, as far as him earning that is a big ask. That is a big responsibility because you got to hit on that. Like, what sustainability do you have when it comes down to you having roster control and leading to championships? There's been one, I think, that's done it that's good as it has, and that's Bill Belichick.
Mm-hmm.
615-737-1045. If you're on the phone lines with us, we will get to you after Coach Mack coming up in a few minutes. I apologize with the news story coming out about Mike Vrabel and the Titans. We needed to hit that right there, so we will get to your calls. It's just going to be after we talk with Coach Mack coming up next. Titans Radio's head coach gives insight onto the Titans coaching search and the 3 legendary coaches who have hung up the clipboards all within 24 hours. Titans Radio's head coach joins us next.
Join the Nashville Predators on Saturday, January 13th as they take on the New York Islanders at 7 p.m. at Bridgestone Arena. It's a big Saturday night in Smashville. Plus, hockey is for everyone night. Celebrate celebration of all the diversity in Smashville, and hockey is a sport for everyone. The NHL's United by Hockey Mobile Museum will be on the plaza for fans to enjoy before the game. The Traveling Museum is a free fan experience that celebrates hockey's trailblazers, change makers, and business leaders spanning various demographics. Get your tickets for the game at NashvillePredators.com/tickets.
RKW is brewed by 8th and Roast on 104.5 The Zone, rolling right along on a Thursday morning. That music, a welcome sound to the city of Nashville, because it means we chat with Titans Radio's head coach, Coach Mack. All of our conversation was with Coach Dave McGinnis, are presented by our friends at Two Rivers Ford. Coach Mack, what's going on? How are you?
Well, good morning, Kayla, Ramon. Good morning.
Hey, Coach.
Morning, Coach.
Coach Mack, there are a couple of 72-year-old head coaches that have retired in the last 24 hours. Do you want to talk about Nick Saban, Bill Belichick, or Pete Carroll first? Because we've got time to eulogize the careers of some legends in the head coaching profession.
Well, all very successful head coaches. I mean, when you talk about a standard, if winning championships is a standard, and then raising the standard, winning championships on a consistent basis is the ultimate standard in this business, then you're looking at the greatest examples of both in Bill Belichick in the National Football League and in Nick Saban in the collegiate game. I mean, that is a pinnacle of excellence for a lot of years that you have to respect. I know both of them. Much respect for both of them. I mean, that's the pinnacle. And sooner or later, I mean, it as a coaching career is going to come to an end sooner or later. But when you look back at what those two guys have done, and not only for themselves, for the personal accolades, because that's always going to be attached to their names, all of those championships, but what they both meant to the National Football League and to the collegiate game. I mean, that's the epitome of it, guys. If you're going to be into coaching, that's what you aspire to be able to do, and to do that on a consistent basis. That's pretty incredible. And Pete Carroll, very, very successful as a collegiate coach. They're at USC, a longtime NFL coach. I know Pete very well. Competed against Pete when they were running at their top. They're in Seattle, and so all three of those guys, excellent football coaches. So much kudos to all three of them.
So, Coach Mack, let's talk about Bill Belichick and just what he was able to do and the longevity of his success in New England. Obviously, a lot is made of his marriage and the perfect fit with Tom Brady. But when you look at his career and just the success he had over such a long period of time, what is most impressive about the foundation and the culture that Belichick built in New England?
Consistency. Well, there's consistency. I mean, there was a way that he did it, and he got a certain type of player in there that thrived in that system, and just complete consistency. You know, I interviewed at Cleveland when Coach Belichick was the head coach and Nick Saban was the coordinator, and I mean, just what they were formulating, you know, back then. I mean, it's just a consistency, and there was a way to do it. And if you were coming into that, you understood how you were going to do it, and there was no veering from it. And it was just solid in every aspect. Not only in being able to procure the right type of players, but also be able to get players to play, you know, on a consistent basis. And then just, to me, consistency is the thing that you look at with Bill Belichick. This league is hard. It's hard. I promise you. I've lived it for a lot of years. It's hard. And to be able to be that consistent and to be able to be on top for that long, hard to do. You have to really have a very strong foundation to do that.
Coach Mack, when you look at the history that these coaches have built, from Pete Carroll to Nick Saban to Bill Belichick, how do you get to that point as a coach? Because that's the thing about it. There was a bunch of failure on the pathway to learning how they were going to build their system.
Well, and again, I think, first of all, you've got to have a tremendous belief in yourself and a tremendous belief in the way that you are doing things. And then you have to surround yourself with good people. And they've all three been able to do that. Look at the coaches that all three of them have had. And I know a lot of them that have come through, you know, with what they've done. I mean, Nick Saban really revolutionized the whole thing about analysts in the collegiate game. I mean, he revolutionized that idea. And Bill Belichick, look at the coaches that started out as guys basically, you know, they call them the 20-20 guys. They're 20 years old making $20,000 a year, that came from the bottom up through what what he's done. Look at the number of guys around the league now, and in the collegiate game that have come through that. So you have to be able to not only identify players, you have to be able to identify people that you want working for you and with you. And all of those things, when you look back at a legacy that these guys have, I mean, it's unparalleled.
And the other side of that too, Coach Mack, is following up those jobs, those positions. Legacy coaches are legacies for a reason. And I think we see fall-offs, after them because it's hard to maintain that type of success because there's so many years it takes to get to that point. What would you say to fan bases, Coach Mack, that have to see new coaches come behind Nick and Bill and Pete?
Well, I know now that we live in a microwave society and it's recency bias, but you got to know that when Nick Saban took Alabama over, they weren't really great. When Bill Belichick took New England over, they were not really great. When Pete Carroll went to Seattle, they were struggling to find an identity out there, in the Northwest after Chuck Knox. And they had to start and build it. It takes time to build it. And you're right. I mean, but when you look back at those long careers, it wasn't like they were automatically inserted into something that was successful. They had to have time to be able to build it, and that's extremely, extremely important. The society we live in today, you don't have a lot of patience. There's not a lot of patience for a lot of things, not only in sports, but a lot of things. So I think if you'll step back and just look at, they didn't start out being successful. I mean, look at Bill Belichick, was not successful. If you want to look at wins and losses, a lot of Cleveland, but his methods were successful. Again, Nick Saban came into the league, went back out of the league, but he was very successful in the collegiate game. So it takes time. It takes time, but to compare somebody brand new coming into somebody with that type of a legacy, that's not the meter you're measured on. Now, and I promise you this, there will be a number of coaches that would be willing to step in and accept that challenge, because if that's in you as a coach, which it is, if that's what you do, I did it my whole life, you want that challenge. And so that's what my thought would be.
Coach Mack joining us this morning on Ramon, Kayla, and Will. Coach, you've been around the league. You know a lot of people. You've seen a lot of things. How rare is it to have a situation like you have had in New England with Bill Belichick, that you saw with Bill O'Brien down in Houston, where a head coach also has significant, control over the roster as well and kind of acts as a GM? How rare is that in this league?
Well, it's been done. I mean, it's been done, but it depends on the head coach, and it depends on the organization. More and more now, though, it's harder and harder to do that, because there was a time when head coaches, and I'm talking about way back when they were doing that, but the league, it wasn't as big as it is now. You weren't managing all the other things that come with it. Now the league is different. I mean, I've been in the league 38 straight years. It was very different when I first started than it is now. And so I think you take each case, individually, case by case. It clearly worked out the way that Bill Belichick worked it. It worked out very, very well. Clearly didn't work out with Bill O'Brien. So every case, Kayla, I would say, from all of my years of experience, is individually different.
When it comes to hiring the next head coach here in Nashville, Amy Adams-Strunk made it clear, she has a vision, and we'll see a little bit more and hear a little bit more about that in the weeks to come. You also said, Coach, it doesn't matter if it's a defensive head coach or an offensive-minded head coach. But with the offensive-minded head coach, what do you feel like that could bring to an organization like this that's maybe been more defensive-minded the past several years?
Well, it just depends on can they handle the locker room, first of all. How good and how well can you present yourself? Look, I interviewed for 3 head coaching jobs in my career. I got two of them. But you have to present yourself, and And whether you have a defensive or an offensive background, you're going to have to be a leader of men, and you're going to have to be a leader in a lot of things. And so the way that you present yourself to the people that are hiring, that's extremely important. That's why these preliminary interviews that are going to be done virtually, and then that's why the face-to-face interviews, the first interview, the second interview, if you get through to that, it's extremely important that you present yourself honestly, and that you show that you have a plan, and you also show that you're willing to work with others, because that's extremely important. And each individual, as I said, I interviewed for 3 different jobs with 3 different organizations, and they were all different. Every interview was different because every organization was different. But I was not different in any of the interviews because I was just presenting myself, and then presenting when they would ask. You need to go into these things prepared and have a knowledge, whether you're on you've come from an offensive side or you've come from a defensive side. You better be prepared for a lot of things, even more than football, when you come into one of these interviews. I tell you that from experience.
Coach Mack at Titans Radio with us. And Coach Mack, I'm always fascinated about the interview process, specifically with guys, let's say like Lions offensive coordinator Ben Johnson, who the Titans have reportedly requested to interview, who are literally being asked to interview with every team. Kind of take us through that process, if you will, of that first interview. How specific of a plan are you giving in an interview for a head coaching position the first time you talk with a team? And how difficult would that be for someone who is coaching in the playoffs right now and also trying to formulate a binder on the Titans, the Commanders, the Falcons, all these different teams that are wanting their time and energy?
Well, I can tell you this, and I can tell you from my personal experience, when I started working through the levels of being an assistant coach and then working up through a coordinator, if you've got in your mind that one of these days you want to be successful enough to get the opportunity, you've already started to put this together a long time before the interview ever comes. A long time before the interview ever comes. I mean, I'd been in the league 10 years, and I had already put together a list of people that if I ever got an opportunity even to present as an interview, these are the guys I would like to bring with me. This is what you don't just wait until somebody calls you and say, hey, would you like to interview for this job, to be able to start putting that together. I promise you. And especially nowadays, as readily available as especially, I didn't have an agent when I started. I didn't. I did it. Well, then I got some representation, and you have help putting these things together. But I promise you this, Ben Johnson hasn't just all of a sudden started thinking about maybe I want to be a head coach just this year.
Coach, for the changes that the Titans are going through right now at head coach and the staple that Vrabel was here, what would you say to the Titans fan that's got to go through this after a coach like Vrabel leaves? Expectations still have to be the same here for this organization, and winning is a must as the AFC South is changing. It seems like now year after year with these young quarterbacks coming in.
What's your expectation as a coach? You know that, Ramon, when you sign up for it. Those are the expectations. That is what you expect as a coach when you come, whether it's on the collegiate level or it's on this level, it's on the high school level. You expect to win. You expect to win. That's all it is about. And so those expectations don't change. Now, and I've said this many times. I've said it on your show, and you guys know this, and our listeners know this. The only thing that's constant about sports, professional sports, collegiate sports, the only thing consistent is change. And you've got to be willing to move with the change. And so the goals are – I don't know of anybody that's ever been hired or has ever been interviewed or has ever gone through an interview process that the goal to win wasn't the main objective at the top. Never, ever, ever has that happened. That'll never, ever, ever happen. The objectives are still the same, Ramon.
Coach, when it comes to connections in this league, you know that better than anybody. And looking at some of these head coaches, some of them do have some ties with general manager Ran Carthon. How big is that in the process of just having those connections, considering, too, Ran has only been here for a year?
Well, look, as big as the National Football League seems from an outside perspective, when you look at the magnitude of what it is as a profession and as an entity, as a business, it's a small circle. It's a small circle. So you have spiderweb connections with a lot of different people. So, but you have to be able to, because there are going to be people that are going to be making decisions that may not know you initially. That's why these interviews are so important. And that's why I go back to what we talked about initially when you started asking me about the interview process. You've got to be yourself, and you've got to present yourself in a way that is completely genuine, because that is what is going, more than anything that you can say structurally, you being the person that they look at and say, this, I can believe this guy. I can believe this guy can lead my organization. I can believe that this guy is somebody that we want to work with and want to have in charge of a lot of people within our organization. You've got to be yourself when you go into that. Now, do you have to know somebody personally before that can happen? Absolutely not. Does it help sometimes? Maybe initially, but when you get to an interview process, I can only go back to my experience in the 3 interviews that I had. I knew some people in the room. I didn't know everybody, but I wanted them to get to know me after a 2 or 3 day process as genuine as I could be.
Coach Mack, on the way out, I know we've spoken about Bobby Slowick, the offensive coordinator of the Houston Texans, before, and your experience with him and the footballing family that he comes from. And you know as well as anyone that what he lacks in age and practical experience, he also gains in the fact that he was raised to be a head coach, literally, in the National Football League. Just tell us about his upbringing within this league. And as he is kind of floated out there as maybe one of the names the Titans will be interested in, how he has been able to mentor C.J. Stroud and in a very short amount of time put himself in position to be hired potentially as an NFL head coach and maybe here.
You know, I worked with his dad, Bob Slowick, who was, he was on Jimmy Johnson's staff and Dave Wanstadt's staff in those Cowboy years when they won those Super Bowls. Then he came in as the defensive coordinator for Dave Wanstadt. So I worked with Slow, very closely for 3 years. Knew Bobby and Stevie. Stevie's now in the personnel department at San Francisco. Look, they grew up in football. I mean, they grew up in football. Their dad was an excellent football coach. Their mother was a fantastic track athlete in college. I mean, they grew up with it. He grew up with it. So it doesn't surprise me. And plus, Bob Slowick, Slow was very close with Mike Shanahan. So his kids grew up, and when they were starting to come through it, they not only had the advantage of being raised by a father that was, a lifelong coach, is that they were in the Shanahan sphere too. And so there's a lot of successful offensive coaches that come out of that sphere right now. And so I've known Slow for a long time, and it doesn't surprise me. Just like young Callahan, Bill Callahan's son. Those guys that grow up in it and grow up around it, they have an advantage because from an early age they understand. Even if they don't know what they're understanding, when they're around the locker rooms and they're in the business, they get an innate understanding even before they know what they're trying to understand about how this works. And so, yes, it's an advantage.
Coach Mack at Titans Radio, brought to you by Two Rivers Ford, Middle Tennessee's most trusted local Ford dealership for 40 years. Coach Mack, you always make us smarter. Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, Coach.
Guys, always great being on with you. Look forward to talking to you a lot. See you.
Absolutely.
See ya.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. There's Coach Mack. Interesting stuff there. I think Bobby Slowick as a candidate is so intriguing and so rare when you talk about how young he is.
Yeah.
But again, like I said, what he lacks in age, he's been in the NFL probably at age like 10, longer than people have. He was born June 9th, 1987, Bobby Slowick, to make that
young guys, they have to get an older staff.
Correct.
Correcto. Yes.
Yeah, Mike McDaniel has Vic Fangio as his defensive coordinator.
Very connected, though, in the NFL world he is.
615-737-1045. Again, a reminder, coming up at 8:20, we will take you through each of our top 3 names ranked for the Titans' next head coach. I would imagine Slowick is one that you will hear a lot of. But coming up next, we can catch up on your phone calls, 615-737-1045. Nick Saban retiring, Bill Belichick out in New England, Mike Vrabel, of course, fired in Tennessee. Lots to discuss, and 2 hours and change left to do it on RKW. Coming up on halftime of your Thursday morning RKW brewed by 8th and Roast. Coming up at 8:20, each of our top 3 on the list for Tennessee Titans head coaches. At 9:20, Bryant McFadden of CBS Sports. In the meantime, you on the phones at 615-737-1045. Let's go to Frank in Atlanta, who's been waiting patiently to chime in on the Titans this morning. What's going on, Frank? How are you?
Good morning.
Morning.
I like the Tennessee Titans. I've always liked the Tennessee Titans. However, I'm confused why Bill Belichick is retired and the coach in Seattle is retired, but Mike Vrabel got fired. Okay, I don't believe Belichick will not coach next year. So if he retired, isn't he supposed to quit?
He did not retire. They parted ways with Bill Belichick in New England.
All right. Well, my rub, and it always has been, is with the national media. The national media talks about, I call them a step-over team, the Tennessee Titans. Like if they win a game, they step over their accomplishment and talk about the other team and why they lost instead of talking about the Titans. In this regard, I watched closely with the news of Tennessee firing Mike, and the media seems to think Miss Strunk is a lousy manager, and I don't understand why she's a lousy manager, because she fired a coach that was not always successful, and Belichick, who is God as far as the world thinks of football, but Kraft is not a bad manager for firing him.
Right.
So I want to understand why the media just hates Tennessee.
Thank you, Frank. I would say, first of all, Bill Belichick has the accomplishments to differentiate himself from Mike Vrabel. I mean, the Super Bowl rings speak for themselves, so I think that's first and foremost. Those two are going to be spoken about differently because Belichick has won as much as any coach in the history of the sport, and he is at the end of his career. And Mike Vrabel is seemingly in the middle or beginning of his career. I would say the perception about the Vrabel firing, and this was discussed by Buck and Lucas yesterday on the Buck Rising show as well, the perception, I'm not saying this is correct, is that Mike Vrabel is a winner who worked for a loser. Mm-hmm. And that because of his ties to Tom Brady in New England, Mike Vrabel's a winner. And he was AP Coach of the Year in 2021. He was NFL Coach of the Year. This is a winner who has been in a place that doesn't have a Super Bowl in the Titans organization. While I don't believe that to be the best conversation you could have about Mike Vrabel, that is the one that you're going to hear on Get Up and First Take, and it's why we encourage you to listen to Ramon, Kalen, and Will weekdays from 6 to 10 on 104.5 The Zone. Because if you really want to know what's going on with the Titans and you want to have a legitimate, nuanced conversation outside of the
clicks,
Right.
what's going to read on ESPN.com, then that's why you go to your local sources and not national.
And there's some news that has come out here in the last couple of hours with Mike Vrabel and kind of some of the details of why he was let go, that maybe now I want to see how the national media reacts to that, because he was right. And I liked Mike Vrabel and I thought he was a good head coach. It just wasn't him and Amy together that would work anymore. However, I do think the national media took his side. And I do think Amy Adams Strunk unfairly in some ways got all the heat for it.
She got judged bad.
She really did. And I know she didn't come out and speak to the media, and certain owners do that. Y'all, she's never spoke to the media. That's not what, like, in terms of asking questions to her. That has never happened
in
here.
her position.
No, and she's chose not to, and that's her decision. But yes, I did think it was a little unfair with how nationally the media went and just took his side. And I get it. He's done a lot of good things, and he has a lot of good connections with national media. But now I want to see how it is that some of this stuff has come out, what their reaction is.
And to be fair to her, him, and I think the entire situation, it does simply boils down to this: the lack of winning and the reputation of being a winner, too.
Yeah.
Like, you've done some good stuff, but it's been at It's been because of Vrabel and how he coached. And then he won the Coach of the Year. Well, not anybody can make this team do this. Well, he's been the recognition piece of the Tennessee Titans in recent history so far. And that's where I think, again, it probably irked Miss Amy. And if you've been real about your franchise, because long after Vrabel would be gone or the players that you love, that's why I brought up the other day on the branding of what the Tennessee Titans is.
615-737-1045. A reset of the headlines when we come back. The interview requests that the Titans have made, according to reporters both nationally and locally. There's also a name the Titans were linked to yesterday that got a lot of flack that I think there's important context around. I'll tell you why that is coming up next.
What's going on? Just about 8 o'clock from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. I'm Robert Walsh. We had a busy morning, but we'll start in Tennessee where up to over 7 names Tennessee Titans bringing in for virtual interviews. Some of the big ones, you've got Ben Johnson with the Lions. He's their current offensive coordinator. Baltimore Ravens defensive coordinator Mike McDonald. And in Las Vegas, the interim coach Antonio Pierce. Those names and more being brought into Tennessee for some virtual interviews. Now, as 3 legendary coaches has stepped down off their thrones yesterday and this morning, we'll start in Seattle as Pete Carroll exits the most winning coach in Seahawks history with a record of 137, 89, and 1 tie. Go along with 10 playoff victories. Along with Jimmy Johnson and Barry Switzer, Carroll is one of only 3 coaches to win both a college national championship and a Super Bowl. Down to Alabama after 17 seasons, Nick Saban is calling it quits. His final record at Alabama, 201-29. He had more first-rounders, 44, than losses in his tenure. And this morning, Bill Belichick being let go in New England, parting ways from the Patriots. His legacy in New England, 24 seasons, 9 Super Bowl appearances, 6 Super Bowl titles, his regular season record of 266-120, and his postseason record of 30-12. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and the Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Second half of the show starts right now as Hour 3 begins on RKW. We are brewed up by 8th and Roast, and we are live on your radio dial until 10 a.m. to begin a beautiful Thursday morning in Nashville, Tennessee. Perhaps your final chance for the weekend or for a while. Take a walk, bask in the sunlight, frolic in a field. Who's to say? Beautiful day in Nashville. It's always a beautiful day, though, if you wake up in Nashville, Tennessee. We've got Ramon Foster and Kayla Anderson, Robert Walsh behind the glass. I'm Will Bowling. In 20 minutes, each of our top 3 names for the Titans head coaching position. Bryant McFadden of CBS Sports at 9:20. And at 9 o'clock, we make you some money. U.S. American dollars with the Thursday 3. We were all very good last week.
Can I get a clarification?
You may.
I need to know if Ramon, last week, I thought he took the Ravens plus 3.5.
That's a y'all question. I was on my deathbed.
Was I?
But I couldn't remember who you took when I looked back at the drive.
I said
it said plus 3.5 Steelers.
I said money line is what I would take, but give me the plus 3.5 because 3 is the edit on that. Yes.
All right. Well, Ramon lost that bet, so I want that stricken into the records that he lost that bet.
Who lost the game?
Plus
he
3.5.
ain't catching up to me.
Who lost the game, Bert?
He ain't catching up to me.
I can't.
You said Steelers.
There ain't no wild card in the
I probably
Thursday
wrote
3,
that wrong.
Ramon.
We
You
can't do
sneak
money
in.
line.
I was doing multiple things, so I might have wrote that wrong.
Yeah, we can't
what
do
happened?
money line, so I did say
I get the
plus
flu
3.
and everything goes to hell. What
No,
happened?
it didn't.
Ramon.
Why did it go to hell?
Well,
Yeah,
I don't know
it didn't go to
what
hell.
got
Yeah.
written. Like what is it? What happened?
Because
What was the
I
bet?
was
just
saying
said
multiple. I said I'll do money line,
Okay,
but give me the plus 3.5 Baltimore.
Steelers plus
Okay,
3.5.
so I just
Yeah.
No, it was
accidentally
Ravens.
Yeah,
wrote
that's
it
all
down.
it was.
Yeah.
plus 3.5.
Yeah.
I mean, we've got it on
Underdogs.
audio
all
if
right,
we need to go to it.
So who? What I was right on money line though, right?
Right.
I was correct on the
Exactly.
money. If we could do money line on the show, Kayla, like
Exactly.
I kind of said that, right?
Sure.
Because money line basically said I'm picking money. I'm putting money on them that team is
changed the
going to
rules that
win.
day.
I did change the rules. That day.
So I was gonna say we all did great and we were all 2-1 or better, but that is no longer true.
Yeah, boy.
Bert, I hate you.
Yeah.
I hate
So
you. This
Ramon
is-
went 1-2. I went
Sorry,
2-1,
Ramon.
and Kayla and Bert went 3-0.
This
Throw
is
that brick over here.
This is what he does. He wakes up at the 8 o'clock hour every daggone day, okay? Did you just get watered or something?
I just got
get
my
water?
Fairlife
Waterboard.
coffee mix.
Waterboard.
No, he just got watered is what happened right here. Golly, Bert, we were good until you raised your mind. Now the whole class got homework.
I'm just saying, man, you can't
a
sneak
teacher.
into the playoffs. There's no wild card spot in the Thursday 3. So it's not like you can get matched up with me in the wild card. You know, I'm just trying to make sure you don't catch up to me.
Who won the game? I forget. It escapes me.
It's been
Oh, I
stricken
thought-
from my memory.
I thought that was a
Somebody
Steelers.
was a miserable mess in the rain. Watch it.
A wet, soggy dog.
Could you even remember that with how much you probably took in?
No, I was very present. I
Okay,
was very
good.
present. I had no other option to be.
Oh, my goodness. All right, there you go.
Moving on.
Oh, goodness.
615-737-1045 is our number. Aaron Glenn, the defensive coordinator of the Detroit Lions, is one of the 7 names that the Titans have reportedly requested to interview. A lot of people were very unhappy about this. I need to remind people that the first day of interview requests that you make has very little to do with who you ultimately hire as your head coach. Meanwhile, Aaron Glenn in a recent NFLPA survey was ranked by players in the National Football League as the number 1 defensive coordinator to play for, which I think is interesting.
Saying a lot right there. When you have that type of stuff, the players speaking out on coaches in particular, like this, that we don't know anything about, it probably says they're probably on a rise to the top as far as being one of those types of candidates.
And it's interesting, too, that every time you request an interview with a coach, fans run to Football Reference or StatMuse to look up, well, how good's their defense? Well, why are we going to get a defensive coordinator with a bad defense? Need we remind you that when Mike Vrabel was hired as the head coach of the Tennessee Titans, the Texans had not been great on defense that season. And he was the defensive coordinator for the Houston Texans at that point.
Yeah.
Like, it's not always a one-to-one correlation of, well, what have they done most recently? There is a body of work. There's an interview process. There are things that you have to sort out. There's also the Rooney Rule, where you do have to interview 2 minority candidates in person.
Mm-hmm.
And the Titans did request yesterday, according to reports, 7 total coaches. 2 of them would meet Rooney Rule requirements in Vegas interim coach Antonio Pierce and Lions defensive coordinator Aaron Glenn.
Yeah, and also on the Rooney Rule, too, it's been expanded to not just black coaches. Also, it's also female. It's
Correct.
also other minorities also, which is how Josh McDaniels or Mike McDaniels is a minority also as far as the Miami Dolphins job. Very fascinating. That rule right there, that's a big conversation in itself on how it's being used and abused at times, too. We'll see what happens with this moving forward, though.
With the emphasis that Amy Adams-Strunk put on staff and coaches around who the head coach is, it keeps defensive coaches within the conversation, because Amy Adams-Strunk, in order to hire a defensive-minded coach and someone who is a defensive coordinator, the question she will ask is, well, who's your Matt LaFleur? Mike Vrabel and Matt LaFleur were each, really, you could argue, the top 2 candidates for the Titans job when it was open after Mike Mularkey was let go in 2018. But then they both came here and they were paired together. Obviously, that only lasted a season before Matt LaFleur was hired as the head coach of the Green Bay Packers. That's why I'm of the opinion you need an offensive head coach and not a defensive one, because you get a defensive one with a great OC, great. That OC is going to be gone in a year, maybe less or maybe more. But look at D'Amico Ryans. Houston Texans hired a defensive head coach, and Bobby Slowick, his offensive coordinator, who he brought from San Fran, is very likely going to be a head coach somewhere else next fall.
That's
maybe
the fear.
here.
And when you look at all these young OCs too, like, let's be fair, on the other side of it, that's the popular thing to do right now and has been for the past few years. The biggest thing with that is some of these guys, haven't been proven yet as a head coach. That's a risk you take, and that's a risk that some organizations have really hit on. Some haven't, but when you hire somebody that young too, you have to know that they have the connections, that they can build their staff with veteran coordinators, especially I think on the defensive side of the ball. They've got to have those connections, because you don't just want a young staff that is trying to cut their teeth, right? They've got to have those connections to know, hey, can I bring over this veteran guy who's going to trust me to lead this team, even though I am younger than them? I think that's huge.
That's always going to be huge. And then the communication and also the factor of leadership, too. Like 37 and Danico's 34, 33.
He's young.
You know what I'm saying? And I know there's been other coaches do that thing. McVay, Mike Tomlin, Josh McDaniel. So it's not like it's impossible to do. But this is also my only contingency when we get to the coaches, candidates that we put down is with such a young team, do you hire a young guy, too?
615-737-1045, our number. Nick Saban announcing his retirement officially yesterday. Chris Lowe of ESPN.com, who we remind you can hear every week on 3HL, was one of the first on this, I believe the first on this, as the official announcement was made shortly thereafter that Nick Saban had grown tired of the changing college football landscape, the 14-hour days getting longer for a coach who is on the backside of 70 years old. Names from The Athletic. Bruce Feldman putting out the initial names to consider. Dan Lanning, Steve Sarkisian, Kalen DeBoer, Mike Norvell, and Dabo Swinney.
Oh.
Dabo Swinney's not going to Alabama.
He's going to have to change his mindset then.
Alabama students who were memorializing Nick Saban like he passed away last night around his statue on campus actually were chanting anyone but Dabo at one point last
Perfect.
night.
I agree with him.
So I guess he's their Shiano.
I saw an F&M Bank chat, UW said, hear me out, Urban Meyer to Alabama. Please, no.
Okay. We're not. Can we not stir that up again?
Has he washed himself clean?
I don't see any scenario.
He needs to stay in TV if that's the thing he wants to do. Like, because there's no more trying to get to a program, put them behind. Like, that's a mess.
Yeah.
That's a mess. I think he could still coach, but I think it's been known now he can't handle it.
Well, that's what he says anytime he went out of a contract, it seems.
Now we got NIL and transfer portal to deal with.
Yeah.
I don't think he wants to touch that.
And let's not forget that Athletic article last week where kids are being paid $40,000 to go get other recruits. And I ain't mad at it. I absolutely love that, okay? But that's what you got to do in those situations now. The game is different.
615-737-1045, our head coaching candidates for the Titans coming up in just a few minutes.
You guys want to do a little trivia before we go to break?
Sure.
Let's
I
do it.
love trivia.
Who is the NFL's current longest tenured head coach with one team?
I know that one.
Right now, like hasn't been fired
Well, if
yet.
Ramon's answering that quickly, then so do I.
Yeah, yes.
Oh, it's Mike Tomlin.
That is correct.
Okay.
With 17 seasons accrued with the same current team. Behind him, John Harbaugh at 16, and in third, Andy Reid with 11 with the Chiefs.
Who's the second guy?
11.
John Harbaugh.
Never heard of him.
Oh my goodness! So
No,
it
it's
was Bill, right?
the college football national championship coach's brother. That guy.
That guy.
Yeah.
Oh,
I don't know where he coaches, but
did
You
y'all
know the
see
guy
the
that's won
exchange?
the most recent Super Bowl in the AFC North.
You see the exchange? I'm gonna ignore that crap. You ever seen the exchange with him and his dad and John also?
yeah.
Yeah.
And which one is it? John or Jim? John at
One of the
Michigan.
J's.
Jim's at Michigan.
Jim is
Jim.
at Michigan.
Jim is at Michigan.
Jim was
Jack is their
excited.
dad.
Shut up.
You
Jack-
shut it,
knows
Bert. You
who he is.
shut it,
Jack is the
okay?
daddy.
But seeing him say, "Well, now I can sit at the big boys' table," because he's got him a championship
Oh.
too. Like his dad and brothers all look like that's some cool sports crap right there.
Now, Jim Harbaugh is the closest to join the three coaches who have won a national championship
Just
and
gonna
a Super
say.
Bowl. He would be the most likely candidate.
Is he the next Pete Carroll?
Wow. That's some cool stuff, though. I love that type of sports
I
stuff.
hope
That's
he
mushy and everything.
Has a
but
better
I like
gum
It's
chewing
mushy.
habit than Pete Carroll did.
No, because you are in competition with somebody at every point of your life.
That's
you
right.
are. And to have his brother and dad be champs and know that, man, I'm just as good enough, that's something I'm sure it's like, whew, all right, now I can go.
Was that weird that John Harbaugh just interrupted in the middle of a timeout and just came over and pat Jim on the back and gave him a hug?
No.
I thought that was very strange.
I kind of liked it.
Why did they not do that before the game?
No, absolutely.
His
Well, it
brother's
was during the
probably
game.
messing
No,
with him.
yeah, it was,
I love
and
it.
it was about
Weird.
the reception of them hugging. I thought it told you how cool it was. If I'm in a position like that, and we about to get Emmys for this show, and Savage come over, and Nardo come over, and Josh come over, and hit me with that, just like siblings, and my wife and kids gonna be like, that's gonna be some cool
Well, yeah, but
I'm
you can
in
do that
that.
before the game. Like, wouldn't you see?
Nope.
If you were coaching in a national championship, you think you and Slay wouldn't dab each other up before the game starts?
No, he gonna be
Slay
on the
would
sideline.
totally come on
I
the
know
sideline.
he would be on the sideline. I'm not disputing
He'd try
that.
to call a play.
I'm not disputing the
okay,
fact that he would
okay.
be on the sideline. It's just y'all would have already talked before the game started.
Nah.
And in the middle
Well,
of it.
of course you would.
I've seen that happen before on the sideline.
No,
Siblings and stuff. Absolutely.
615-737-1045. Coming up,
Not weird.
each of our top 3 candidates to be the next Titans head coach. On the other side, RKW 1045 The Zone.
Winter is here, Kayla Anderson,
It is.
and the air is getting colder. We know that, but today it goes up a little bit higher. Your energy bills will be at an all-time high, so now's the time to replace those old windows with 0% financing for 5 years and 50% off all style of windows, too. So now's the time to protect your family from the elements, lower your energy costs, and upgrade the look and feel of your home.
So you were saying they come up in terms of the temperature a little this week, then next week dropping down. We might see single digits. So maybe this is the time to call Window Nation and get some new windows in your home before we see those single digit temperatures. Look, you wake up in the morning and you're feeling that the air is coming in and you know you turned on your heat. That probably means the air is being sucked right out of the windows you currently have. So do yourself a favor, get new windows and save 30% on those energy bills. And Window Nation is the place to install everything correctly. They have installed nearly 2 million windows, 96% perfection, making them one of the top window companies in the country. You can trust us. You can also go online. They have over 10,000 positive reviews. So it's the new year and treat yourself. Get yourself a new pair of windows from Window Nation. Call them at 866-90Nation or simply go online to windownation.com.
So there are moments where about 30 of you chime in on something at the same time. Typically, it's when we give away tickets. And then there's opportunities like today when I'm just wrong. It's RKW brewed by 8th and Rose to 104.5 The Zone. Ramon Foster, Kayla Anderson, Will Bowling. In a moment, we will give you each of our top 3 candidates for Titans head coach. So I said before the break that I thought it was weird that John Harbaugh was saying hello to Jim during the game the other day, and that they should have done that before the game. Well, apparently his flight got delayed, which is why he was late. That's what everyone in the universe just told me that apparently they heard, and I didn't because I went to sleep the second the game ended. I still think it's kind of weird.
That's fair. I'll give you that.
I was wrong, but I still think it's a little strange. Like, then just do it after the game. So anyway, I stand by my point, even though I admit that I was incorrect.
If I'm the last one to the party and I know I'm about to have the greatest speech of all time, y'all better come dap me up. You hear me?
Granted, I don't have an issue with it. Like, it's cool that brothers are brothers and, like, they're very close, and, like, that's great. Like, I love it. But I'm not upset about it. I don't get upset about very much, but.
Yeah, you do.
That was funny.
For the sake of
lines.
entertainment on the show, I do. But
The phone lines were ridiculous.
Yeah, they can't wait to y'all.
Crazy.
Hey, I appreciate y'all.
I was literally going through the phone
that
lines.
was
Like,
wild.
are you calling about the weather Harbaugh thing? Yes. Okay.
That
thank you.
is crazy.
it was funny. We did earlier this morning have someone on the FNM Bank chat say, "Come on, Roman, you know Will is never wrong."
Yeah.
Yeah, Roman.
Roman, I almost named one of my kids Roman.
Isn't that a
was like
brand,
too conceited.
Roman's a brand too.
Roman? Oh,
yeah.
yeah, get Roman. Yeah, it's that brand too.
Everything's a brand.
Free shout outs.
But spelling my name with an E, those two things, I'm like, Roman I can deal with almost, but Ramon with an E is like, if you know me, you put an E at the end of it, like, come on.
Yeah, what do you get more, an E on the end of your name or Roman?
Raymond.
I don't get that.
Raymond.
There is no Y anywhere to be seen.
It's weird. It's weird, Kayla. I do all this stuff all the time, man. And I've gotten to the point now, it's like, even at the sweet people at Chick-fil-A, hey, no, Ramon. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, be sorry. But yeah, Roman is Roman, Raymond, Ramon with an E.
Okay. The one that I hate the most is when people think there's an I in my last name other than the ING.
Boiling.
People will make it boiling. Like, what part of you thinks that bowling is spelled BOILING? Like, help me understand your stupidity.
See, I wish your
Again, I
last
don't
name
get upset much.
had 2 L's. I thought forever. When I first got hired here, I sent you a million emails, and you were always like, I'm not getting them. And it's because I was spelling it BOLLING.
Yeah, to our bosses, if you have critiques of me, my last name is BOWLING. Listeners, if you hate my takes and want to email me, it's Will_BOWLING at nobodycares.com. My favorite thing to do, by the way, and then we'll get to our candidates, is when people will respond with a tweet of mine that they hate that doesn't or that follows me, and I'll just respond with a picture of the Google search of how to unfollow someone on Twitter. It's my least favorite thing on Twitter. Again, I don't get upset about much. My least favorite thing about Twitter is when people complain about tweets. It's almost like you can control what you see or don't see on Twitter.com. Just unfollow them.
What if I can't?
Then mute them.
What if you retweet it?
Then block them. Simple. Three-step operation. I have Lane Kiffin blocked on Twitter. I don't care to see his tweets.
What if there's a bragging camp about me getting blocked by you?
Okay.
I'm just going to go on and on now.
Top 3 candidates for Titans head coaches. Ranked from 3, 2 to 1. We'll go. Who wants to go first? Let's go. Start with our third choice.
Start with our third choice?
Yep. Bert has, I'm told, 2 honorable mentions for us after we each give our 3.
Okay.
2 honorable mentions, too? Goodness. I got one, and of course, it's doing research on what's what when it comes down to who's calling plays. I was going back and forth with Bert all day trying to figure out all morning, like, who's calling the plays. And this one particular guy, they've already requested one person from Dallas, but the second guy from Dallas, he's the named offensive coordinator, Brian Schottenheimer.
Interesting.
Yes.
Okay.
He has a crazy lineage when it comes down to where he's been and what he's done. I'm not sure if Mike McCarthy has taken back play calling.
He has.
He has.
Correct.
After the 49ers lost. But if you look at, if we're speaking about what people have done and what they're capable of doing, he checks almost every box. 50 years old. Places he's been, Rams as an assistant, this is early on. When he started getting positions was quarterback coach in Washington, San Diego Chargers quarterback coach. He led the Jets to the offensive coordinator, to the AFC Championship game when he was with Mark Sanchez and the Rex Ryan staff with the Jets. Also coordinator for the Rams. Georgia, also quarterback coach and coordinator too. He's got a long lineage of lists. Also worked with Andrew Luck in his time in Indianapolis as the quarterback coach there also. So he understands quarterback development. Passing game coordinator with the Jacksonville Jaguars and was an analyst in 22 and the Cowboys coordinator. Only reason I will have him 3 on this list for me is because he got his play calling duty stripped from him. Not to say he's a bad coach, but when you look at what he's done, so the stuff that I have on him is been a quarterback coach both in the NFL and college. Development of Will Levis is going to be huge. What's up?
Clarification on that. It was Kellen Moore was the play caller, and then he left for the Chargers open position.
Yes.
So he never had play calling duties in Dallas to begin with.
Okay.
So it wasn't taken away from him when Kellen Moore left. As I understand it, Bert, you correct me if I'm wrong.
He's named as the OC.
When Kellen Moore left, Mike McCarthy said, "I will call the plays."
Well, as far as the website goes and everything, Kellen,
of course.
He's named as the OC.
But it's not like he had the play calling
Right.
duties and then it was taken away.
Okay.
I just wanted to make that clarification.
Okay, good. Yeah, cool. So, with that being said, I think he's appropriate age for what the Titans want to do here if he's capable of being head coaching material. But here's my thing. Andrew Luck's quarterback coach. Development is key for Levis. Also, Seahawks offensive coordinator and also had the league's top passing offense at 18 and had Russ as the league leader in passer rating with 110.9. Again, number 1 scoring offense this year for the Cowboys, MVP candidate in Dak, and he also knows what a good O-line looks like, how to build a good offense, what also Dallas incorporates the passing, the running game just as much. I think he understands what it takes with the places that he's been to be a candidate, and he hasn't been requested. And, of course, like Will said, he had never had the play calling duties, but you can't deny his resume. And there's also his NFL lineage with his pops, too.
And that's always big. And I love having that connection because I do feel like it connects you with so many other people to hire staff, right?
Yeah.
So I personally, I'm going to mix mine up a little just because I think a lot of people want offensive-minded guys, and 2 of my guys will be that. But I think if I want to throw in a defensive-minded head coach, which I don't think it's totally wrong to say that could happen. I think it's more apt that Amy Adams Strunk hires an offensive-minded guy, but let's throw it in there. So I'm going to go to Ravens defensive coordinator, Mike McDonald, and he's young. So a lot of these guys that I'm going to give you are younger, 36 years old, and really has spent most of his time in the Baltimore Ravens organization. And sometimes I think you can look at that and say, well, he doesn't have any, other coaches that he's been with, or he hasn't been in different organizations and learned different things. And I get that argument, but I also think he's been at one of the most stable organizations under one of the most stable head coaches, which seems like things work really well there. And when you're able to learn from a guy like John Harbaugh, in the way he runs things. And look, everything's not been perfect there, but they've been able to make the right decisions along the way that have made things right. Just like hiring Todd Monken this year to come in and take over this offense, and now we're seeing those numbers. He's been around all of this. I've heard that he's a very adaptable guy. He's not a guy that is always just going to, this is my way or the highway. I think that's what you need if you are coming into this organization with the Tennessee Titans, because that is what Amy Adams Strunk has pretty much said. She wants someone who's adaptable, who's going to say, this is our vision. Is this your vision? Yeah. And he can have his own ideas, but you know what the defense has done there. I don't have to sit there and go into all the details of that. He's young. I feel like he's innovative. He would hire the right coaches because he's been around the right coaches for a long time in that Ravens organization. So defensively, if there was a coach, I think I would go with him for defense.
Mike McDonald is one of the coaches who the Titans have requested to interview. And again, we'll run through that list here. Ben Johnson, Lions offensive coordinator, Ravens DC Mike McDonald, Giants OC Mike Kafka, Cowboys defensive coordinator Dan Quinn, Raiders interim head coach Antonio Pierce, Lions defensive coordinator Aaron Glenn. Those are the requests that have been sent. Justin Mello has added that the Titans are expected to interview Brian Callahan as well. Bobby Slowick, another guy who the Titans have been linked to but have not yet officially requested to interview, according to national reporters as well. For my number 3 pick, I am going to go with Ben Johnson. And you may ask, why is a guy who is the belle of the ball, so to speak, number 3? Well, it's because of his reported asking price, which may or may not be true. And if you've been following the news with his courtship around the NFL, a few weeks ago, Josina Anderson posted on second or third hand chatter that she was told personnel around the league are discussing their awareness that some owners have been told. Take a breath. That was some gymnastics. That Ben Johnson's asking price is around $15 million per year. That's a lot of money. Jeff Reisden of USA Today then said, I'm told personnel around the league are discussing their awareness that there is no asking price, and that tweet is 100% false. So take that for what it's worth. That being said, Ben Johnson is going to require a high price simply because he is going to be courted as the candidate in this coaching cycle. So the reason why he is my number 3 candidate is because I don't think he is worth the investment that he will end up getting from someone as a first-time head coach. However, he is 37. He was promoted mid-season to passing game coordinator during Dan Campbell's first year as head coach in 2021. Ben Johnson, I'm sure he's on at least one of y'all's lists, is going to be in the mix. I just don't think he is going to be worth money-wise the investment that he will get for someone that's never been a head coach before.
Yeah.
All right, moving right along. Number 2, Ramon.
Quickly for me, because I know we're up against it, it's going to be Eric Bieniemy. I say kick the tires on it. Again, you know you're going to get a guy that's offensive-minded, but he's also a disciplined type guy, too, from what we understand. Smoothing over his edges has got to be something that I think has to happen for him in this process. You understand what you're getting yourself. He could be a number 1 candidate for me, but the number 1 guy I have, I think, is going to be a home run pick. But Bieniemy, of course, I think should be in consideration for it.
Yeah, and a lot of people have questions about that, right? I think Kozo Mike asked us in the chat, like, why hasn't he been given that opportunity? Is he at all in the talks at Washington for being?
I would expect him to be in it.
I just haven't heard much, right?
I haven't seen that.
Yeah, but of course his name this time of the year is always going to circulate.
It has not this time.
Maybe the one he get hired
and
for.
That's what I was going to ask you. Why do you not think Eric Bieniemy's name has been discussed more this time around?
Probably because they're taking him more serious now. He don't have to do the press anymore and have a big time billboard about what he is and what he wants. I think everybody knows. You just bring him in and let him do his spiel.
Kayla, number 2?
Yeah, so I am going to go with Ben Johnson, and I think you have to put him in the. You don't have to, but I think he's definitely the hottest candidate, and that doesn't always mean that that's going to end up being the right candidate. But I think he's proven in terms of what he's done in Detroit with the head coach Dan Campbell there that he could be a winner, and he has made that offense relevant in Detroit. Obviously a team that has ranked top 5 in points, top 5 in passing in each of the past 2 seasons. Aren't those things that you would love to see here in Tennessee? Because by golly, we haven't seen that. You've got a new quarterback here in Will Levis, who seems to be the future. It seems like he's a younger guy, obviously, so you would think he would want to work with something like that. He's got to be willing to, clearly. But, yeah, and I know the price is going to be high. They have money, and I feel like if he's the right fit, Amy would dish out that money to bring in a guy like that. But they got to make sure they get it right, right? They got to make sure he's going to be the guy that can work with Will Levis. I know that every guy is going to come with their ego. That's just part of the business. So I'm going to put him at 2 just because I think everybody wants him right now.
Number 2 for me is second-year Miami Dolphins offensive coordinator Frank Smith, who was voted in an NFLPA survey as the number 1 offensive coordinator in the NFL. And I'll be honest, I started making this list by knowing he was my 3rd pick and that Ben Johnson was my 2nd. And after I was done researching all 3 of my coaches, I was very tempted to make him my number 1 choice. This is his 20th season as a coach, including 14 years at the NFL level. He has spent a lot of time with Kyle Shanahan, the head coach of the San Francisco 49ers. His first season as an NFL offensive coordinator was last year. The Dolphins had a top 10 offense for the first time since 1995. He is Mike McDaniel's lieutenant, as it was written by Jeremy Fowler of ESPN.com in Miami. Yes, he is not an offensive play caller, but Jeremy Fowler wrote this on ESPN.com yesterday. Bobby Slowick is definitely on the radar for the Titans due to the Rand Carthon tie and his job in Houston this year. Another connection is Dolphins OC Frank Smith, the top lieutenant of Mike McDaniel, who was with Kyle Shanahan for more than a decade. That is Rand Carthon familiarity. That is Kyle Shanahan familiarity. And here's the kicker, guys. He was an offensive lineman in college.
Mm-hmm.
Love that.
I like the offensive line experience as a player. 3-year starter on an offensive line at Miami of Ohio from 2001 to 2003, protecting a man named Ben Roethlisberger, who Ramon Foster maybe knew a little bit about, who played 18 years, of course, for the Pittsburgh Steelers. For me, Frank Smith, tight ends coach for the Raiders, run game coordinator for the Los Angeles Chargers in 2021, with the Chargers ranked the 4th best offense in total offense, 390 yards per game in the NFL. He's been in Vegas. He's been in New Orleans. He's been a lot of different places, which is also a green flag to me. I think Frank Smith is the guy that's not getting enough conversation, and I think he is one that is really kind of a 1B to me in the 1A that I'll give in a minute.
I'd like to really get into mine. Can we do mine after the break?
Yeah.
I guess we kind of have to at this point because we've gone.
My last one's a home run.
Coming up next, our number 1 pick for Titans head coach on RKW. Hey, it's Will Bowling for my friends at Lee Company. Storms and changing weather can cause all sorts of chaos, including power outages. Have you considered what would happen if your home had no power right now? Well, I'm here to tell you a home generator can make a huge difference. If the power goes out, a home generator will keep your heating and air conditioning system running, lights on, and the appliances working. You can also count on your phones and computers to stay charged and never miss a beat. And look, in Middle Tennessee, if you've been here for more than just 5 minutes, you know how unpredictable and crazy Mother Nature can be. Look, we're looking at single-digit temperatures next week. If power goes out, you want to make sure that you can still stay warm in these crazy conditions here in Middle Tennessee. Well, act now with Lee Company and receive $500 off or special financing for up to 36 months on a new generator for your home. That's $500 off or special financing for up to 36 months on a new generator for your home. Call Lee Company, 615-567-1000, or claim this great offer at leecompany.com/promotion. 615-567-1000, Lee Company, all you need. RKW is brewed by 8th and Roast on 104.5 The Zone. We have given you number 2 and number 3 for our top picks to be the next head coach of the Tennessee Titans if we were Amy Adams Strunk. Who is number 1? We will start with Ramon Foster.
Hey. Here we go. Number 1 for me, man. It's probably a name you will not know and off the beaten path, but apparently has some stuff behind him. Dave Canales, the Buccaneers offensive coordinator, 42 years old, has been around the league for a little while also. Got Baker over 4,000 yards. If I'm not mistaken and I read it right, Baker has had his highest career highs of passing yards, which he went over 4,000, passing touchdown, and was on pace as of week 18 as far as his completion percentage, 64.4% for Baker, okay, with a 95.9 passer rating. He's been to Seattle. He's coached Russ. He's a one of those young minds in the league that you don't know about yet, but you understand that they're on their way up. And on top of that, coming from the Bucs, he would probably bring some defensive-minded guys with him, also being under Todd Bowles. He understands it. And not just that, the ability to distribute the ball to wide receivers like Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, and also tight end Kate Otten, who this year had 455 yards. So we talk about the incorporation of the tight ends here and what you're capable of. Name you know? Probably not, but a strong candidate for a head coach at some point in time at 42 years old. I got Dave Canales as my number 1 pick as far as trying to move this franchise into a different era.
I like that one, Ramon. I'm going to go with Brian Callahan. And yesterday I reached out, obviously the OC for the Cincinnati Bengals, who have been overall a thorn in the Titans' side. Clearly, I want to make this clear that the play calling duties are technically Zach Taylor's. However, I reached out to a guy who is in the league and is close to the situation yesterday about Callahan when he emerged as a possible candidate. And he did say that he is heavily involved in the game planning throughout the week. He specializes also in red zone, 2-minute drill situations when it comes to this offense, but he's very, very involved. Brian Callahan comes from a coaching family. His dad is Bill Callahan, who is still a offensive line coach in Cleveland. If you want an offensive line minded anything, there we go. If he has any connections in terms of coaches in the league, I feel like Brian Callahan will have that. He's young. He's 39, but he has cut his teeth in this business. He's been everywhere. I mean, he went to one of the best high schools in De La Salle in California. He's been with the Denver Broncos. He's been with the Detroit Lions, the Oakland Raiders, been with Zach Taylor's staff, though, for 5 years. And they've been able to keep him because I think he's a smart guy. I think he sticks around to know when is my time. Mm-hmm. And this could be the time. I've been told he's a really smart, methodical guy who has a presence about him. He's definitely calm in the way he goes about his business, but can be fiery when needed. Quote, does a good job in front of the room. I talked to you about the football background. Also, Jordan Dejani of CBS Sports came out yesterday, said he spoke with Bengals wide receiver T. Higgins, asked him about OC Brian Callahan. He said he's a player's first coach. He's all about making his players happy. He's a family man. He treats us like one of his own. Great guy, outstanding coach at the end of the day. Who else would you love to get if you could get a coach like him? T. Higgins.
I mean, it's a great answer. It's a good option, and it does sound like a lot of the buzzwords we use to talk about Mike Vrabel. Focused on the line, leader of men, players coach. Heck, you want to bring T. Higgins back to the state where you played high school football. That's a good way to do it.
It is. Also, I forgot to mention on Canales to also help re-emerge Geno Smith as a guy too. Mm-hmm. So quarterback development to me is going to play the biggest part in it. So
I am very surprised that I am the only one with Bobby Slowick in their top 3. And he is not only in my top 3, he is my number 1 choice to be the next head coach of the Tennessee Titans. Kyle Shanahan said when he took the offensive coordinator job in Houston, Bobby was as talented as anyone I've ever worked with. I didn't want to lose him at all. D'Amico Ryans knew that he was special. D'Amico and he had a close bond together because they were both quality control coaches. When you work your way up from a defensive quality control assistant in 2017 to the offensive coordinator for one of the best seasons by a rookie quarterback in the history of the National Football League, for a franchise, talk about loser franchises, the Houston Texans are probably number 1 or 2 on that list over the last 20 years of National Football League football. And what him and DeMeco Ryans have done is beyond impressive with a rookie quarterback in C.J. Stroud who has good wide receivers. It is a dynamic passing game. Do not listen to the nerds that tell you that he does run, pass too much. Look at the stats that C.J. Stroud put up. Missing 2 games this season, going 9-6 as the starting quarterback of the Houston Texans. And look at an offense last season that was last in points per game in the NFL and 15.8 before Ryans and Slowick got to Houston. They were last in yards per game with 280.8 yards per game. It had the second worst QBR with Davis Mills and Case Keenum in that bad rotation they had at quarterback in 34.3. Texans made the playoffs, and C.J. Stroud in 15 starts had 4,108 yards, 23 touchdowns, and 5 interceptions. Good enough for me. And I think the caveat to this, and we read the article from Diana Rossetti and Joe Rexford of The Athletic this morning about how emotional and how upset Amy Adams-Strunk was when the Titans lost in Houston despite the win over Miami. Games and rivalries and dynamics with Houston mean a little bit more to the Strunk Adams family than any other team. And for good reason. It is where they call home. It is where this franchise used to call home. An opportunity to weaken Houston and strengthen yourself with Bobby Slowick, to me, is why he is my number 1 pick and who I believe will be the next head coach of the Titans. So there you go. Dave Canales, Brian Callahan, and Bobby Slowick. I'm shocked that we all had different answers.
That's good, though.
Me too, actually.
I am shocked that we had this much difference. And Steve in the F&M Bing chat writes in and says, and yet we kept stealing these awful teams' coaches. Talking about Houston. Hey, Houston's not an awful team
Anymore.
Somebody earlier said, I don't want another Texans coordinator. Okay, the guy's been there for 1 year. It was with Kyle Shanahan from 2017 to 2022. So,
A good choices, though.
Yeah, really good choices.
I think if we look past the retread guys,
Yep.
there's more talent in the NFL than the dudes that you think you need to go get.
Of the 8 guys we mentioned, I believe one of those will be the pick.
We got them already. I'm keeping mine in my notes. So,
Bert, you said you had 2 honorable mentions for us.
I did have 2. Kayla took one of them, Mike McDonald. Really big fan. He'll be 37 by the time the season starts next year. My other one was Kellen Moore, who kind of got the short end of the stick in Los Angeles this year with Justin Herbert going down with the injury. They were 21st in points. Not going to hold that against him. What was impressive for me, in 4 seasons as the offensive coordinator for Dallas, Kellen Moore's unit ranked 2nd in the NFL in total offense, 391 yards per game, and 2nd in scoring, 27.7 points a game. Dallas's offense had the 4th best passing offense with 264 yards per game and ranked 7th in rushing with 120 yards per game over that span. So a multiversed young coach who understands the importance of the run game but can also sling it all over the field. I think Kellen Moore got the short end of the stick in both Dallas and Los Angeles. Probably needs to go somewhere else and prove himself as offensive coordinator for longer, but a young dude that probably deserves a look. I think the only place he's interviewed at was he was the internal interview for the Chargers.
Makes sense. 615-737-1045. Thursday 3 coming up next. A reset of the headlines where we have more information about why Mike Vrabel was fired. Details next.
It's Ramon Foster for Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical, man. One of the best things you can know is in this day of age, if you want to do stuff on your phone real quick and not talk to people, if you want to book something with Hiller, whether it be plumbing, heating, cooling, or electrical, go to happyhiller.com, okay? And I promise you, one of their professional, experienced, trustworthy technicians will come to your home, do their job, and leave it cleaner and better than they found it. Because care is their core value, okay? They believe that when you care about others, everybody wins. Kind of like my motto, everybody eats, right? And they'll take care of the customers on every job, every single time. And it starts with their true transparency pricing. There's no hidden fees, no added costs, no surprises when you get your bill. They find out the things you need fixed and don't try to add or tack on anything else to try to raise that price up a little bit more. It's not like them, okay, because they've been in business and family owned since the 90s, all right? If you need anything done around your house, whether it be plumbing, heating, cooling, or electrical, reach out to the folks that I trust at happyhiller.com.
What's going on? 901. Good morning from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. I'm Robert Walsh. 7 names on the Tennessee Titans coaching list. The virtual interview requests are out. A couple of the names to keep an eye on: Brian Callahan, Cincinnati Bengals offensive coordinator; Ben Johnson, the Lions offensive coordinator; Mike McDonald, Ravens defensive coordinator; and the Raiders interim head coach, Antonio Pierce, all being contacted for virtual interviews. 3 legendary coaches stepping down, 1 retired, 2 fired yesterday and this morning. But let's start in Seattle as Pete Carroll exits as the most winning coach in Seahawks history with a record of 137, 89, and 1 tie. His 10 playoff victories go along with being one of only 3 coaches to win both a national and Super Bowl championship. Now to Tuscaloosa, as after 17 seasons, Nick Saban is calling it quits. His final record at Alabama, 201-29. He had more first-rounders, 44, than losses. And in New England, Bill Belichick on the outs with the Patriots. His legacy in New England: 24 seasons, 9 Super Bowl appearances, 6 Super Bowl titles, 266 and 120 as a regular season record, and in the postseason going 30-12. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and the Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Hour number 4, just like that on RKW. We are Brewed by 8th and Roast with you for 60 more minutes to kick off a beautiful Thursday morning in Music City, USA. Remote Foster, Kayla Anderson, Robert Walsh, our producer. I'm Will Bowling, making you some U.S. American dollars in a matter of seconds with the Thursday 3. Resetting the reporting from Diana Rossini, The Athletic. Joe Rexroad with a piece on why Mike Vrabel was fired by the Tennessee Titans, details of which have been released this morning, confirming what Buck Rising discussed on his show yesterday. Mike Vrabel wanted full control of the Titans roster, didn't get it, and started a contentious past 365 days with Amy Adams-Strunk last offseason by asking for full control of the roster, being denied, and by suggesting that Rand Carthon, reportedly, should have been made assistant general manager and not general manager. Interesting things that confirm what we do. Mike Vrabel, the general manager and the coach, was let go by the Titans this week.
Big time stuff.
615-737-1045, our number. Bryant McFadden of CBS Sports will join us in minutes. Talk to him about the national perspective on the Titans coming up in 15 minutes. Something he has done on his show before and has done very bluntly. Former Pittsburgh Steeler, now CBS Sports broadcaster, and one of our favorites. So looking forward to talking with him coming up in 15 minutes. Thursday 3. Robert is 33-21. Kayla 31-22-1. I am 25-28-1, and Ramon Foster is 17-37.
Do you have to say the record every
Yes,
time?
I do.
Do you really have to?
So our 2
love it.
undefeated pickers from last week will begin. Kayla and Bert flip a coin.
Bert, go. I'm going to give you the
All right, you call it, Kayla.
heads.
It was tails. Sorry. Kayla goes first.
Actual heads.
You should know that tails never fails. Come on.
Right? Okay. So I'll start it off with the team that I think it's not hard to see on this show. At least Ramon Foster and I have made this clear. Like, we like Dan Campbell and the Detroit Lions.
Yeah.
I've gambled on them a
do I
little
like 'em
bit. Well, yes, but
Okay. Anyway.
just a little bit more love. So the Detroit Lions, I think at this point, have learned to get past the we're almost there point. And I'm not saying they're going to win the Super Bowl. However, I think they're at the point where you see them win this playoff game against the LA Rams. They've got everything going for them right now. Why not go for the Detroit Lions in this situation when this might be the year? They're -3 is what I have them at. So if that's it, I'll take them at -3.
It is -3.
Okay.
That is correct. Okay. Robert
Man,
Walsh?
Bert,
I
you
didn't
gotta
do
go.
no research this week, y'all. I feel like when you come into the playoffs, you got to dance with who you came with.
Impulse, baby.
You got to go with what you know.
Just win, baby.
And what I know is the Dolphins are frauds. The Dolphins are falling apart at the seams. They're like, y'all ever seen Nightmare Before Christmas, Oogie Boogie? Oogie Boogie's falling all apart, man. He can't even keep the bugs in the sack. That's Mike McDaniel right now with the Dolphins. Everybody's hurt, and worst case scenario for them, they're like, you know what, maybe we get some people healthy. At least it's not going to be freezing, right? It's going to be -5.
-5 degrees.
The Dolphins are not built to run, throw, play defense, kick punts, field goals, drink water in the cold. It's just not in their body. You ever seen a dolphin swimming in the cold? I ain't. So I'm going with the Chiefs 4.5. I think they cover it. I think the Dolphins get dismantled, and we see them for the frauds that they are. Dolphins going down.
Yeah, I think a 0-degree forecast is not conducive to a quarterback who plays the ukulele.
You said.
Like Tua Tagovailoa does.
The more I watch Hard Knocks, the more they're all losers. Everyone on there. Tua, big loser. I used to think Mike McDaniels was cool. Big loser. They're all losers.
There you go. I was raised on a couple of key principles, guys. Always hold the door open for a lady if they're coming, walking in behind you. You always have baked chicken after church, watching NFL football on Sundays, and never bet on the Dallas Cowboys in the postseason.
Mm-hmm.
Packers +7.5, my first pick.
Yeah, they haven't proven to be anything but a fraud.
I also have Packers +7.5.
Oh, 2 for 1.
Well,
There
if
you
we're
go.
all joining in on stuff, I bought my ticket that you guys are on the same train with, okay? That's the
Can I
Kansas City,
switch?
Miami.
Is it? Oh, never mind.
Where's my damn brick
I
at,
thought about
man?
making Ramon go
put him
first. That
back
way I could
over
just
there
take
for
whatever he
you.
didn't take.
Brick.
Goodness.
I'm choosing Kansas City 3.5 on this one, okay? What is it? 3.5, 2.5. Kansas City. Miami just won't do it for me. I think
4.5.
they play 4.5.
Chiefs -4.5.
5.5 for him.
You can't.
We should give him charity. 3.5 for
where. As soon as we go to break, Kayla, me and Bert gonna dance.
My door's
I
locked.
can't wait. I'll videotape it.
The doors of the church is closed, Bert.
I'm telling you, I went to Cotillion, but I ain't trying to dance with you.
Quickly, I got Kansas City 4.5.
All right.
Okay.
Second pick, Kayla.
I have got, I believe in Baker. I have got the Eagles, the Bucks +3 in this one.
Okay.
Look, the Eagles have burned me every time I've tried to bet on them. I still don't think they have things fixed. I don't know. It's in Tampa Bay. I know that doesn't mean a ton, but if I'm going to roll the dice this week, I'm going to roll the dice on Baker Mayfield and the Tampa Bay Bucks. Call me crazy. I'm not saying they're going to win, but I'm going to take them at +3.
It's called betting, not winning.
I am also taking Bucks +3.
Okay.
Home dog in the postseason against a team that is dead.
My second team, man, is
is Robert not going to go?
No, it's okay. I had Packers as my second pick.
Oh, that's right.
he
that's
said
right,
it already. I forgot that,
go
but
ahead.
he said it already.
Go ahead.
My second one is Cleveland and Houston. I'm actually taking Houston on this one. This ain't no Browns hate. I got +2.5 on Houston right here.
I like it.
Embarrassing the first time.
Yep.
Won't
I'm
do it
not
again.
brave enough to do it, but I like it.
I'm with you on that one, my dog.
Look at me looking right around here. Okay. Let's go.
All right.
That was hyped.
So I guess so Ramon has one more to do. Kayla's done then, and Bert and I have one more. Bert, go.
My last pick, I got to go against you guys on the Bucks, man. I know the Eagles have looked bad. If you are going against the worst team in the league and offensively you can only put together 9 points, that leaves enough breathing room. I think the Eagles are being slept on despite the last couple weeks.
It's fair.
I think they can come back. I think they're a team that's good enough to bounce back when it matters. I got the Eagles -3.5.
Ready?
Or is it 3?
3.
3.
That is one of those two. I wonder how much of a Eagles home game that becomes. Because I would imagine there are a lot of Philadelphia retirees who live in that area of Florida.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that'll be an overwhelming Tampa home crowd. Just my opinion.
Yeah.
I could be wrong on that.
Good place to visit.
Tampa has good fans.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, they do.
I am going to go with a total for my third pick, if the people allow. I don't care if the people allow. I'm going to do it either way.
We've got
Chiefs,
totals.
Dolphins under 44.5. 0 degrees,
Yeah.
potentially as low as in the negatives. Travis Kelce is smitten with Taylor Swift and has decided not to catch passes anymore. And Tua Tagovailoa, again, there are games where ukulele players thrive. This is not one of them. Give me under 44.5 in Dolphins and Chiefs.
All right.
This
Fair.
is good. I'm glad I get to go last on this one, y'all. It's Thursday.
Yeah, most weeks.
Usually show up on 3HL. Hey, my record is better than it shows. That's what people say.
You're the best
selling it.
17 and
Keep
37
selling it.
team in football.
Hey, I go on 3HL usually every Thursday. It's a weekly segment I do for them. It's unofficial, official. And I love some of the stuff they do because that's our teammates. Man, shout out to Buck. Shout out to Blaine and Mickey. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to 3HL. Okay? But there's a segment that goes on, okay, usually when they have this guy with 2 M's in his name, okay, by the name of Mark Mariani. Okay? And my last
Blood in
segment
the
is
Water.
Blood in the Water pick of the week.
Wow.
Goes down to Pittsburgh versus Buffalo. 10 points. We don't want them. We don't
at
want them. I do not take them. The 10 will go down. Pittsburgh will go to Buffalo and beat them to 10 points is disrespectful. I don't want your points, okay? I don't want them at all. Pittsburgh with the upset on the road against Buffalo this weekend. Dun, 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 dun. Sign it! Book it! Mark Mariani, shout out to you, baby. We get credit where credit's due.
That's not an emotional pick at all.
I
No,
love
it's
it.
not an emotional.
All right,
And
so
that's
I
what
have
Mark does a lot. It's emotional
I
pick.
have a proposition. Should the people accept, we can vote on this as a show. So are you predicting the Steelers to win the game?
Yeah, I am.
So I am willing to give Ramon 5 wins, but also risk 5 losses
Will?
if you take Pittsburgh money line. If Pittsburgh money line is your bet. So in this case, instead of you becoming, let's just say that's the only thing you took. Instead of you becoming 18 and 37, I would give you 5 wins and I would subtract 5 losses. So you would then be 22 and 32.
What do you got to lose?
Are you willing to do a 5-game bet on Pittsburgh Steelers money line? If you're not, that's fine.
do I get
If you're
an
scared,
asterisk
that's
right
okay.
now?
Just tell me if you're scared or not.
If I lose, do I get an asterisk?
No, you do not.
God, dog.
This is not like a Michigan national championship in football. You don't get an asterisk with it.
We don't want them, Will. I take the
He's
bet.
going.
Steelers money line, a 5-game bet from Ramon Foster.
Yeah, screw it.
All
Screw
right.
it. I'm with that.
Interesting.
It's not called winning. It's called betting.
When it's you, you're right.
Okay. Whatever you want
Weird
to say.
flex, but okay.
Whatever you want to tell yourself.
Coming up next.
It's like saying I'm a professional crash
Yeah,
dummy.
that's a new opener for him. That's a new opener for
Ramon
him.
Foster. It's not called winning. It's
It's called betting.
Bryant McFadden to CBS Sports next.
When it comes to large home repairs, a lot of the time we homeowners do not know what we want in these times, okay? Simply put, if you need anything done around your house that's foundational or waterproofing repairs, United Structural Systems is who you need to go. It could be something big that needs to be fixed right away or a small problem now that'll become bigger later, or it could be nothing at all. The bottom line is we don't know, and we certainly don't want to be sold something we don't need. What we need is a peace of mind, and United Structural Systems is the company to give you that. They have over 25,100% satisfied residential customers, and here's how they make that happen. When USS comes out to your house, you're going to get a problem solver who provides a peace of mind to their customers, the homeowner. You're not going to get someone who is worried about meeting a sales quota or upselling the next big thing, but someone that'll educate you and help you understand what is happening at your home. At USS, the only measure of success is how satisfied the homeowner is and not a closing ratio. Homeowners trust USS, keeping homes dry and stable for over 25 years. Serving Middle Tennessee, Southern Kentucky, Western Kentucky, and Northern Alabama. You can reach them online at ussTN.com or call them 615-488-7855.
Life is busy. We could all use some extra time in our day, which is exactly why Two Rivers Ford offers mobile service. We'll bring the service to your driveway at no additional charge. Oil changes, brakes, batteries, the certified technicians at Two Rivers will perform basic maintenance on your vehicle wherever you are, so you'll have more time for moments like this. Schedule your mobile service appointment by scanning the QR code or calling Two Rivers Ford today.
Some Titans news to tell you about that has come out in the last few minutes as we continue in hour 4 of RKW, brewed by 8th and Roast. Ian Rappaport, NFL Media. The Titans have put in an interview request for Texans offensive coordinator Bobby Slowick. He writes, one of the more impressive offensive minds. He also has a slip from the Commanders. There you go. 8th candidate the Titans have reportedly put in a request to interview.
They're going to be busy over there, Amy Adams Strunk and Rand Carthon. Wow. You knew they wanted to get ahead of the game. She said it, and that's what they're doing.
Right. This is good. Well, you had him picked, didn't you?
He's my number one choice for the job.
Do you guys find it odd that Arthur Smith hasn't gotten a head coaching request yet?
I do.
A little, but then again, what did he really prove there as a head coach?
There are still many who believe he would have been successful had he had a starting quarterback and not Desmond Ridder. I am not one of those people, but that opinion is out there.
So what do we say about his lack of use of
exactly
Kyle
Bijan
Pitts?
Robinson
And Bijan. I mean,
and Drake London.
London. I mean, that's kind of flagrant right there, isn't it?
It is. I think a lot of that again would be attributed to the quarterback, but
yeah,
again, that's where I think people need to remember the head coach is in the room when the quarterback's drafted.
Yep.
And do we also make a huge emphasis on how important a quarterback is too? I mean, we know that.
Of course. I mean, you have to.
Yeah.
Bryant McFadden of CBS Sports joins us right now on the phone lines. What's up, B-Mac? How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. How you guys doing?
Good.
We're great. Just a little bit to talk about, right? A couple of 71-year-old coaches who've retired. That's in the news. Head coaching search going on here. I think the big headline, though, BMAC, is that Ramon Foster in our weekly Thursday bets just took Pittsburgh Steelers money line in the city of Buffalo this upcoming weekend. What are your thoughts on that?
Ramon is a smart man. He's a smart man. I mean, clearly, Ramon, as you guys know, football fans, no one is really giving the Pittsburgh Steelers a shot. But one thing I do know about Pittsburgh and Buffalo, especially the Steelers playing in Buffalo, history tells us the Steelers usually do well in Buffalo. The weather's going to be playoff Buffalo caliber weather. Well, actually, I think helps Pittsburgh, especially the way they've been running the football downhill. So we just got to wait and see, but I'm excited as well. And you know what? I think I'm going to go ahead and follow my guy and put something on the money line for Steelers also.
I mean, -10 is a bunch.
10 is way too many points,
I agree.
and Mike Tomlin does his best work when nobody thinks he can do it. There is no doubt about that.
Yes, sir.
No doubt. BMAC, here in Tennessee, of course, the Titans have a head coaching search. Mike Vrabel is out. And the interview requests, there are 7 of them. Bobby Slowick, the most recent one just a few minutes ago, have begun for Amy Adams-Strunk, Rand Carthon, and the Titans. What was your initial reaction to Mike Vrabel being fired?
I was a bit surprised. I know it was a down year considering what he's done in years past. Not really relevant, especially in conference play, the AFC South. You dealt with a lot. Your young quarterback eventually jumped into the lineup, and, he was dealing with injuries as well. You look at the personnel. Let's keep it real. I think this is a team that lacks talent. The personnel is not ideal, especially if you consider the other 3 teams in your division, the AFC South. I think you would rank the Tennessee Titans just on talent alone probably dead last in the South. And so you're already working with a short hand of cards, short deck of cards. But then you dealt with a lot, and they wanted to part ways. So I was a bit surprised. I think Coach Vrabel is a heck of a coach. You guys know better than me because you're right there in the heart of everything. He created a mentality, a football identity there, and it was surprising to see them part ways this year.
B-Mac, man, I remember you a while back had something to say. I think it was when one of my first time asking you to come on the show. And you said something that rubbed people the wrong way, and it can because realities and truth hurt, and they suck sometimes to hear certain things. But it really lined up with what Miss Amy Adams-Strunk, the owner of the Titans, said as far as the brand, as far as what the identity of this franchise is moving forward. And you said a comment that was like, the Tennessee Titans have been an in-the-way organization. And it kind of lined up somewhat with what she was saying as far as building up our reputation as a franchise. What did you mean by that? And does it also make it a more understanding with why Vrabel was let go?
Well, what I meant when I said Tennessee Titans are just an in-the-way team, literally, they're an in-the-way team. Tennessee, going back to their playoff, stints, they were a team that were competitive, but they were a team that you can get around. You know how you're in a residential area and you see that residential speed bump? You see it, you acknowledge it, but you just go right over it. You slow down just out of respect for your car and your tires, but you know you're going to go over it. So basically, when me saying the Tennessee Titans were just an in-the-way team, meaning they're a team that we all believe could get into the playoffs, but they were a team that we never really felt they can get to the Super Bowl. And the playoffs has always been like the main attraction for the Tennessee Titans because even for Tennessee Titans fans, diehard fans, the last few years you were in the playoffs, you guys didn't really feel like, oh, shoot, we got a shot. And the one time you did have a legit shot, the Cincinnati Bengals showed that you guys were just an in-the-way team. Home game, second round of playoffs, got 9 sacks, 7 sacks on Joe Burrow, and still found a way to lose that ball game. So at some point in time, that has to be more than what you have been. You can't just be an in-the-way team. Hey, we just talked about the Buffalo Bills and the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Pittsburgh Steelers are a double-digit underdog. But there are people that feel like, based on what they've done and just the coach and pedigree, they can be more than just an in-the-way team in the playoffs. When you look at some of the other teams in the playoffs, the same can be said for the Cleveland Browns. They're not just an in-the-way team. If you're not careful, they'll dot their eye, give you a black eye, and find a way to get to an AFC Championship game. That has been my thought about the Tennessee Titans for quite some time. Man, they're a team that, you respect. They can get in the playoffs, but outside of that, they're just an end-of-way team.
So when it does come down to branding, right, like you said, that reputation, and we spoke about this, I think, yesterday or earlier today, is why do the Titans get put on the back burner? It also comes down to reputation and a winning culture. Like, that's something that, hey, if you'd say, and the report was today from The Athletic, from Diana Racina and Joe Rexroad, that Vrabel wanted control of that. I got to ask you, when it comes down to reputation of winning and standards, and a coach that was let go here and Vrabel wanting full and total control, does he warrant that type of control with what the reputation of this team has been?
I think he does warrant that type of control, and the reason why I say that is because I think Vrabel has done more with less in Tennessee, honestly. Like I said, this year was a down year, but you look at his coaching resume throughout Tennessee, they've been a mainstay in regards to playoff conversation, and he's been able to do that with less. I mean, Ryan Tannehill I never considered Ryan Tannehill to be a playoff quarterback that can get you a deep run, right? When you look at the offense identity, everything was running through Derrick Henry, a bruiser of a back, a guy who I think still has some quality lives left in the tank. But outside of that, it wasn't anything entertaining. There wasn't anything that could be, flashed. And if Vrabel was able to do more with less, what could he have done if he had more control over the roster? Not necessarily saying that he had to be the general manager like Belichick was with the Patriots, but just more involved. Because I oftentimes feel like this. When you've earned the stripes to be able to be the chef and go shop for your own groceries, then you should be able to shop for your own groceries, especially if you've been making quality dish, receiving ingredients from someone else. And I think that's who Vrabel has been. In my best food analogy, he was a chef that was oftentimes receiving ingredients from someone else, and those ingredients wasn't up to his liking, but yet and still he was serving dishes that people were enjoying.
Bryant McFadden of CBS Sports joining us now on RKW. BMAC, so in that case, where do you feel like Mike Vrabel would be the best fit, where an owner might say, okay, you can have a lot of the control? And let's remember, too, if we want to make connections, Tom Brady is now a minority owner of the Las Vegas Raiders.
Man, there's so many openings for a job, man. I think I should put my name in a hat, man.
Right?
I think I can get one.
Yeah.
My goodness, I never remember a year like this where there's almost, 10 openings, 10 vacancies for organizations. What's the number? Is the number 8 or 9 now with the Patriots?
8.
Right?
Yeah.
It's 8. Think about that. Every year there's openings, but there are 8 vacancies for NFL jobs. So, man, shoot, I might need to put my name in the hat because I think I can get one. But to answer your question, I mean, the Raiders could be a choice. Will they stick with Antonio Pierce? It seems like Antonio Pierce has one of the locker rooms, so that's the first big thing you need to do as a potential head coach. Yep. When you look at, Washington, the Patriots, with Vrabel being a former player there, understanding what was built, the foundation. When you look at who else we got? Not Chicago.
LA.
Carolina.
Carolina. Would he want to? No, well, heck. If he can get any control in Tennessee, clearly he go to Carolina. He's not getting any control because we already know, Tepper is not playing around like that. It's his way or the highway. I could easily see, maybe Belichick and Vrabel getting back together. Atlanta, that's another opportunity. I think my first organization would probably be New England. I don't think New England goes outside the box. They maybe go Vrabel, Gerard Mayo, Brian Flores, maybe someone that is kind of cut from that Belichick era. And I don't know if they really want to go a clean slate with their next head coach. So maybe, Vrabel can go to New England. I think he will be a head coach, me personally. Mm-hmm. I do believe he will be a head coach moving forward.
VMAC, for this organization and everything that we just spoke about, to get them in the mix, to have them be a team that competes for a Super Bowl, because that's what owner Amy Adams-Strunk has made clear. She wants to bring a Super Bowl to the city and to the fans. What type of coach needs to be here?
Well, I'm not going to, describe a type of coach for you. I'm just going to say his name, Harbaugh.
Wow.
Harbaugh.
Okay.
Stop playing around. I feel like when you go and you go shop, you go bargain shop, you usually go get bargain merchandise. You know what I mean? You can't have a Saks Fifth Avenue taste and you shopping at JCPenney. Like, you're going to get a JCPenney-like product. But you have a Saks Fifth Avenue taste. They don't have the same type products in JCPenney. No knock on JCPenney, but we're talking about two different companies with two different, visions of what their product and brand is. So if you want to bring a Super Bowl into Tennessee, if you want to get fans extremely ecstatic about where this program is going, give them a blank check. Because one thing I know about Harbaugh, like him or not, that man can coach football. He's a bona fide coach. University of San Diego, I think his last year there, he was 11-1. Leaves San Diego, goes to Stanford, made Stanford a relevant program. Andrew Luck had an eye for Andrew Luck, developed him to be an outstanding quarterback. Remember Stanford, his last year, they were in the Orange Bowl. Leaves Stanford, goes to San Francisco. San Francisco, that program at that time, Ramon, they were disco dead. They were all the way dead, a laughing stock. All he did was created a foundation, consistently got into the playoffs, got to the Super Bowl with Colin Kaepernick, created a football identity defensively and offensively, because when he was there, we knew going to San Francisco, they were going to beat you up. They were going to play physical football, beat you up, and they were going to be in a position to always win ball games because they were well coached. Leaves San Francisco for whatever reason, goes to Michigan. Michigan was dead in the water as well. Think about this. Michigan was dead in the water. Got recruits, set a football identity, a brand, and the same thing that we saw in San Francisco with his style of play, a transition to Michigan. So if you want to talk about Super Bowl, and I want to bring a Super Bowl to Tennessee, man, stop going to JCPenney. Stop it. Tell them to say, listen, listen. You want control? You got control, because he's shown the ability to coach. He's shown the ability to revitalize programs that were dead in the water, in the depths of the sea, ended up moving them out of the sea and putting them on Mount Everest.
Bryant McFadden, CBS Sports, our guest. BMAC, the obsession in the NFL is to go younger and to go offensive with head coaching hires. It's what Miami did with Mike McDaniel. It's what the Rams did, and they won a Super Bowl in the process with Sean McVay. In your mind, what separates Jim Harbaugh, the not as young but certainly proven commodity of the NFL, and his Super Bowl experience and now national championship winning experience in college, from someone like Bobby Slowick or Ben Johnson, who are the young up-and-coming offensive minds?
We've seen Harbaugh do it before. We've seen it.
You've been to a
We've
Super Bowl.
seen Harbaugh. We've seen Harbaugh do it. We've seen Harbaugh do it. University of San Diego. Do y'all even know what their mascot is?
I love doing this. I think it's something Waves, I believe.
Well, you might be one of the outliers out there, because most of us don't know. Right? That's what I'm saying. We know San Diego's and University of San Diego's in San Diego. I don't know what their mascot is. I know they won 11 ball games with Harbaugh. They were 11-1, 12-1. He went to Stanford. All right, Stanford football. Let's keep it real. Now, when he was at Stanford football, come on, y'all ain't watching for Stanford football.
The Toreros.
I don't even know. What's a Torero?
That's a great question, actually.
Like a car.
I have no idea.
We don't know. All right, so let's go back to the timeline. Stanford played in the Orange Bowl. Think about that. How is that possible? You know why? Because Harbaugh was there, right? San Francisco. How many times did he take San Francisco to the playoffs? How many times did they participate in NFC championship games? Right? Yeah. Michigan was dead in the water since they moved on from Lloyd Carr. They were trying to find coach after coach after coach. In comes Harbaugh, created a football mantra, identifying quarterback play, helping develop quarterback play. So all these other hot new young coordinators that seem to be a hot thing, man, I got to go with what I know. And sometimes the unknown is scary because you're hoping. One thing we know about Harbaugh, that man can coach. J.J. McCarthy might be a first-round draft pick. You know why? Because he's been developed by Harbaugh. As I will reiterate again, Harbaugh took San Francisco to the Super Bowl with Colin Kaepernick. Yeah. Think about that. And Randy Moss. Frank Gore. Think about that defense. Think about how they bully people. Remember, if you go watch San Francisco when Harbaugh watched them play when he was there, that's the same thing we watched with Michigan, how they bully people. And Ramon, one thing that I talked about last week for the championship game when I was working with CBS, I said Michigan is one of the few programs in college football that still practice 907 drills. Ooh. And Ramon, you know what 907 does.
And Bill,
for our listeners that might not know what a 907 drill is, It's not a thing now because there's so many spread attacks. But 907 is when the offense has 9 guys, the defense has 7 guys, and it's all runs.
Yep.
It is all inside runs. And if you watch how Michigan performs, those reps, practices, and 907s, it shows up because a lot of teams can't handle that. So what I'm saying is we've seen it before. If you go into a restaurant, I love using food analogies because I love food, by the way, so excuse me, please forgive me. But if you go into a restaurant, you want to go to a spot where you know the taste is going to be up to your standard. Everything is going to be up to your standard, and you're going to walk away feeling fulfilled instead of going to a spot and say, I hope they have some good mac and cheese. Man, I hope they got some good chicken. I hope they got some good sweet potato pie. And you might walk away and say, dang, I knew I shouldn't have went there. We've seen it time and time again. This man can coach, and that's what I'm saying. The other guys are hot names, and they're a flash in the pan and all of that. Man, Harbaugh can coach, and his record says that.
It's interesting.
You was lying, B-Mac.
It's good stuff. Yeah. Bryant McFadden of CBS Sports has been our guest. A torero, by the way, is a bullfighter, B-Mac.
A bullfighter?
A bull.
Oh, yeah, you should look up the mascot.
The San Diego Toreros, the bull. That's where Chris Bryant, former Chicago Cub, went. Fun fact.
Yeah, Chris Bryant. Yes, sir.
Not known for football.
I didn't know what a torero was, but he took them and they were 11-1, 12-1.
Perfect.
Well, a lot of people in our YouTube chat are saying that you making them hungry too, B-Mac. So you know what
I
that
am
is.
one of them.
Swayed them.
Hey, I'm always hungry, man. If y'all want to invite me out, man, and feed me, I might come out there. Maybe y'all can promise me a nice hot plate.
Well, with both of your and Ramon's winnings, if the Steelers beat the Bills, then I think the bill might be on y'all, but you're welcome anytime.
No. What we're going to do is we're going to run it right back. Because when we beat the Bills, that hot hand got to keep going, man. I'm staying at the table again. I'm not walking away from blackjack.
Hey, our producer's a Baltimore fan, so, hey, we got to go see them, B-Mac. Run it back.
Well, hey, Ramon, you know we want that. We're not afraid of that. You know.
Bryant McFadden.
We're not afraid of that.
Has been our guest this morning. B-Mac, thank you as always.
Appreciate it, B-Mac.
Thank you.
All right, there he is.
You know, I never liked that guy.
You chill. You chill. Headlines we missed. More of your reaction coming up next. Wrap up the show.
It's Ramon Foss for Scoreboard Bar and Grill, calling all sports fanatics. We're turning up the heat with the ultimate Super Bowl Party for 6 giveaway. Imagine you and your crew enjoying the game on massive screens, mouthwatering bites, and a vibe that is second to none. Simply register to win this Friday from 3 to 6 while 3HL broadcasts live at Scoreboard Cedar Creek. But hold on to your hats also. They've got more than just great sports talk lined up. You can enjoy some 2-for-1s, try to beat Brenton Slade's pick to win a $250 prize pack, and more. So don't miss your chance to snag a fantastic Super Bowl party for you and 5 of your friends. But you got to register this Friday between 3 and 6 at Scoreboard Cedar Creek. Headed downtown also for this weekend. Get ready to spice up your day at Doc Holidays, Nashville go-to for the ultimate Bloody Mary experience, where you can dive into bold flavors and try their Sunny D shot for a burst of citrusy goodness. But the excitement doesn't stop there. Bend the rules and savor the spirit at Whiskey Bent, too, your ultimate destination for a whiskey-fueled good time. So join us every day for the best in live music on Broadway.
Gimme a coach. It's RKW brewed by 8th and Rose to 104.5 The Zone. I was the kid that said the joke that somebody else said quietly in the class, and I said it louder. Robert Walsh said that in my ear as the music was playing. I was the opposite of what I was for all of school. The kid that had hilarious jokes. Narrator, he did not have hilarious jokes, but I would say them quietly, and then someone else would say them louder. Oh, that's hilarious. That was my joke.
That's why sometimes people are just songwriters and content creators, baby.
Yeah.
You're a great songwriter, Will. You get paid good, too.
I did write songs when I was in middle school, and I would record them on my flip phone and send them to my friends, thinking I was so cool.
Any amount of money to hear one of those songs.
I don't know if I have any recordings anymore.
Can't we find a way?
You guys know I like to keep my vocal stylings private.
We need that.
I one time went on my dad's old YouTube account.
Yeah.
And I deleted all the YouTube videos of me as a singer from like middle school and stuff.
Yeah, no, we need
There's got to be one.
Yeah, it probably is. I don't really care.
We do.
It's my past life. No, it's fine.
We should get it just like on The Office and Threat Level Midnight.
It should be our intro one day.
I want to read his lyrics.
You jump to the right and you shake that hand. You jump to the left. And
You might
shake
have
that
a banger on your hand here, dude.
Meet new friends, tie that yarn. That's how you do the scarn.
Is Will our Chris Stapleton?
615-737-1045.
Are you the dream?
People
that
are
wrote
asking.
For Beyonce?
You have to grow a beard.
People are asking.
I mean, it's so many people that's turned songwriter artists.
Jimmy Dykes on ESPN has videos when he does Vandy games of him playing guitar on the stage of the Ryman.
Come on now.
Look at that.
That's my long play, is I just want to do play-by-play. That way I can then one day, I don't know how to play guitar, but I can one day sing on the Ryman. That's my long strategy.
Come on.
Plenty of people here to teach you to play the guitar, I'm sure.
Yeah. I would. I can
Mickey.
teach you.
Mickey's probably a great coach.
There we go.
Great point. I was a piano kid. Was not a guitar kid.
One thing I wanted to learn.
I'm right there with you.
Yeah.
That if I could go back and learn, if somebody said you get to learn one language or learn how to play one piano, I would pick piano over the language.
Yep.
Really? I would pick language.
I pick language.
The music is the language of the world and math, kind of. You know what I mean?
Well, what you saying?
If I play Despacito on the piano, this whole place is going to be rocking. You know what I mean? I don't have to know the words.
Puerto Rico.
I love the piano.
I know 3 words in that song. Despacito and Puerto Rico.
He says Mike Tirico, I think.
Oh. Shout out.
Peacock game this weekend.
Boo.
First Peacock playoff game. No, it's making all the Taylor Swift
Ramon
fans
hates it.
download Peacock. Why do you like Peacock?
Peacock game.
Sure,
Why I gotta continue to download a new bleeping app if I want to stream something.
You already have it.
How you know that?
Because I know you.
How you know that? Huh?
Because you had a bartender at your New Year's Eve party, Ramon. You have Peacock.
You got a bedroom in your
We're going
garage,
back there.
You
dog.
still on that?
You got This dude has swans on his property.
No, I do
I
not.
just have swan songs.
He has swans.
No, I do not.
He has one named Rich Swan. Yes, you do. And Rich Homie Swan.
What about, I was going to say Rich Homie Swan.
I did see the biggest buck yesterday morning.
In your backyard?
No, in my front yard.
And he'll join us in 10 minutes for the Buck Rising Show.
Oh, my
Weekdays
God.
from 10 to 1.
I almost
Well, he's
called
little
you.
now.
Because I know you a hunter like that.
Hey, now.
This buck was broad. And his
He was buck?
His rack was huge.
Like
I'm
that-
That's
talking
getting saved.
Oh, God.
Hey, this
Got to
the
go to a special
biggest-
shop to shop.
The biggest buck I've ever seen in my life. I'm telling you,
Really?
this is a monster walking around Hendersonville. I hope I didn't put a hit out on him, but boy, this was a monster.
Zeus better be careful.
Zeus, take him down.
Zeus is the man of the house.
Zeus, yeah.
Come on. No, he's an old dog now.
Some
I know, he's chill.
NFL news, good for Ramon, by the way. Sorry to interrupt.
What I got going on?
Minka Fitzpatrick will play Sunday against the
There
Buffalo
we
Bills.
go.
Blood in the water pit.
Boom.
Boom.
And McFadden on with you.
Boom. That's where I'm at.
Knock if you up.
Oh, man, the poll is going well right now, too, y'all.
Yeah, so I
Speaking
put
of
out a
which.
poll when Bryant McFadden was speaking. Would you approve or disapprove of Jim Harbaugh as the head coach of the Tennessee Titans? Approve 56%, disapprove 44%. I voted disapprove.
I voted approve. It's actually 57.1.
I voted disapprove. I think he still would want a lot of control. That's the thing with me.
You already
Correct.
got a guy in place, though.
Wherever he goes, he's going to be in charge of personnel the way that Mike Vrabel wanted to be in charge of personnel, in my
That's
opinion.
fair. That's fair.
It is crazy that Nick Saban watched Nico Iamaleava play the Cheez-It Citrus Bowl and decided, I'm out.
You were on a string. You were on a tear
I was on a string
yesterday.
Somebody responded and said, Brent and Dawn are being too nice to Saban. I'm glad there's a real one that still works at the station. No, it's just that I'm the homer that was. I'm just kidding. I'm not putting that on tape that I'm the homer that works at the station.
If you follow my burner account, I went in yesterday.
Yeah.
Talking about something you were real sicko if you are happy about Saban leaving Alabama.
Look, there was too much.
Sick.
Yeah, no. Oh, what did you see? What I retweeted
There's
was
a
that
lot of that.
the picture of Hugh Freeze in the hospital bed in the press box at Liberty when they played Syracuse.
Yeah,
and just tweeted. Well, and that's a trend now. It started with soccer of like, you have to be sick if you're enjoying somebody's downfall, like X downfall. There's this picture of Kevin Durant after one of his surgeries in a hospital bed, just looking mean mug at the camera that everybody always retweets it with.
Speaking of Hugh Freeze, I heard that Cadillac he don't want Cadillac around.
He don't want Cadillac Williams.
The Hugh Freeze was hired to beat Nick Saban. The Hugh Freeze hiring is now null and void.
That is a bad situation.
Who's Auburn going to hire next? 615-737-1045.
Yeah, Babs. Where you at, baby? But a lot of stuff came out today, man. I'm glad to be doing this job with y'all. This is a fun time in sports for us, and I think for the consumer too, man.
For sure.
Take the surprise out your voice.
I know.
Before we get out of here, official prediction, January 11th. Who's the next coach at Alabama?
Dan Lanning.
Dan Lanning.
I will also say Dan Lanning. Dang it. Why are we all agreeing? All right, who's the next coach in New England?
I'm going to go with Mayo.
I'm going to go with Gerard Mayo.
Just to be different, I'll say Mike Vrabel, but it's probably going to be Gerard Mayo. We are out of time. Coming up on the Buck Rising Show, you will not want to miss Diana Rossini. 12:20 from The Athletic. The latest from her reporting in The Athletic this morning that the details are ever-changing of Mike Vrabel's firing from the Tennessee Titans. Same time tomorrow, 6 a.m. We'll have Mike Golick Jr. We'll have Brent Hubbs. We'll have you. Probably. You'll be back. We know it. Ramon Foster sent us home.
Hey, you must remember at all times, you might not like the new coach that they hire here at some point in time, or you happy about Nick Saban again retiring from Alabama. Well, guess what? Your Twitter fingers and your mic is always hot, though, so be careful.